Chapter 360 Dead? While Qin Fan and Oda Shingen were engaged in battle, the newest type of Milky Way battleship was anchored on Tokyo Bay. In the bridge, the captain looked at the communication screen with a grave expression.
Admiral Robert, with the power of the positron cannon, firing it towards the Tokyo Skytree would destroy the business district and cause hundreds of thousands of deaths.
Captain Jones said with an extremely grave expression. This is an order that cannot be disobeyed. As long as Oda Shingen loses, blasted with the positron cannon, this time is the perfect opportunity to kill Qin Qingshen, absolutely cannot be missed.
Robert, the 5-star general of the United States of America, snapped. But Captain Jones, still somewhat hesitant.
Seeing Jones' hesitation, Robert's face was grim. I have specially transferred the latest battleship to you this time, equipped with a new type of positronic cannon, just to allow you to bombard and kill Qin Qingshen, and make a military achievement. Today, as long as you make a military achievement, you will become a 3-star admiral. Are you going to give up this heavenly military achievement because of this group of consumables from the Japanese nation? The moment Jones heard about the heavenly military achievement, his face instantly became a bit frenzied. In this era of peace, it was hard to make a military achievement, even though the United States of America had been founded for more than 260 years and had been waging wars almost every year. It was much harder to make a military achievement and become an admiral.
I understand, and I will definitely not let go of this opportunity this time. Captain Jones immediately said.
Remember, these people in Japan are not as good as the dogs we raise, they are just consumables for our Micronesia's hegemony. Remember, this opportunity absolutely cannot fail.
Robert concluded to Jones, yes, SLR.
Jones made a military stance and said loudly. This time, it was the time for him to make a heaven and earth military achievement, and he definitely wouldn't miss it. Positron cannon is God. Not long ago the development of black technology weapons, inside with the positron, once bombarded out, and an electron to produce annihilation, the explosion out of the power, with the caliber equipped on the battleship, the power of a cannon, equivalent to the Nagasaki and Hiroshima explosion of the power of the nuclear bomb.
The only difference, the positronic cannon has no radiation, the killing range is not as good as a nuclear bomb.
However, with the population converging in that area of the Tokyo Skytree right now, one cannon would kill or injure at least 300,000 people. But also, as General Robert said, the Japanese people in the eyes of the Milky Way, not considered people, or even worse than dogs, they are nothing more than consumables with consumables. To become a stepping stone for him to get credit, why not? Thinking of this, Captain Jones as well as the ship's crew began to turn beat frantic.
Captain, the Tokyo Skytree is collapsing.
Suddenly, a communicator who had been following the battle of the Tokyo Tower Clear Sky Tower exclaimed.
Who won? Jones immediately asked. Satellite images are coming in, it's Qin Qingshen. The correspondent immediately said. Quickly, lock onto the target, prepare the positron cannon and blast Qin Qingshen. Without a moment's hesitation, Jones gave the order.
As his order was given, the entire battleship was lit up with ghostly blue rays of light. These rays of light ended up as if they were electric currents, converging towards a gigantic cannon port on top of the battleship. The gun port also rotated, emitting a creaking sound of friction. Positron filling complete. Target confirmed, calibrating.
Target lock complete. A mechanical sound of artificial L came from within the battleship. Fire.
Jones looked at the image of Qin Fan pressing one hand on Oda Shingen's head on top of the sight, and without a moment's hesitation gave the order to fire. At this moment, Qin Fan twisted his head to look towards Tokyo Bay, and in an instant a sense of crisis instantly struck him. Only to see, in the distance, a bright light flashed, illuminating that sky, followed by a bright as if it was a great sun-like beam of light, blasting towards Qin Fan with extreme sword intent flowing water, changeless and formless. In an instant, he moved, the mana on his body stirred, and that liquefied sword intent rushed out, forming a protective shield like a water bubble that enveloped him. Also in an instant, that beam of light arrived.
Boom!
The beam of light blasted down, a heaven-shattering roar came out, and then a radiant ball of light as if it was half of a great sun appeared, and then rapidly enlarged at an extremely fast speed. This ball of light like a great sun carried the power to destroy everything. Everything that was caught up in it crumbled, even dissipated, and annihilated in an instant, while those who were caught up in it were vaporized in an instant. After about 10 minutes, this powerful force slowly dispersed, and with Tokyo Skytree as the center, the place with a radius of more than 5 kilometers was all turned into ruins, and the mortals who were caught up in it were killed or injured in countless ways. A tragic and incomparable crying sound resounded in the ruins, just like hell on earth.
What happened? What in the world happened?
The clothes on Oda Kumiko's body were already tattered, revealing her skin, only this skin was covered with burn wounds. And at this moment, her face was incredibly pale as she knelt on the ground, constantly gasping for air. She had not yet regained her senses from the shock of her grandpa's defeat at the hands of Qin Fan, and as a result, now, she realized that her surroundings were full of wounds. Originally, there were nearly 1,000 people watching the battle, but at this moment, scattered as she was, she could only see 30 to 40 people, and these people, such as her, were injured up and down. Just now that instant, the terrifying destructive force generated, such as knocked these people away from the center of nearly 1,000 meters, I'm afraid that will also be instantly under that horrible explosion, ashes.
This is a black technology weapon, this is the black technology weapon of the Rice Army in Japan. How can they be so
Izao Yamato lay seriously injured, his eyes gradually lost their life, and finally died. He contacted the Prime Minister, the self-defense forces he contacted, and the Rice Army in Japan to deal with Qin Shingshuan. However, at the last moment, this black technology's positronic cannon, under one shot, hundreds of thousands of Japanese people all died, even he died under this cannon. Not only Izao Yamato, but also many of the surrounding people who managed to survive, were all in a trance at this moment. They all knew that this was the Mi Army's black technology weapon. This was the Mi Army's attempt to kill Qin Shingshuan, not treating the people of the Japanese nation as people at all, and under one cannon, there were countless deaths and injuries. Nya Xiaoro had evacuated that area early because of Qin Fan's warning. At this moment, she stood within her hotel room, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking at the distant ruins, her heart beating wildly. Trembling voice said, "In the end, what happened?
What the hell was that just now? A laser weapon? And is that Qin Shingshuan dead?"
In the distant summer country, Lin Qingyan covered her mouth and looked at the image from Tokyo, which was a ruin, on which there was a terrifying electric light pulsating, and countless people were crying, just like hell on earth. Lin Qingyan's eyes, tears constantly in the eyes. "No. Will not, Qin Fan, he will not happen."
And on the summer country's network, this moment similarly exploded. "This is too shameless, too shameless. How can you use such a weapon?
This is a weapon of the Rice Army in Japan. It must be a weapon of the Rice Army in Japan. Don't the Rice people cry out for human rights every day? How many people died in this shot? Where are the human rights? A small day is not a human being in the eyes of the Rice. Where are the human rights? Even if there are no human rights, we should also talk about face. This is the war of the century. How can we use such a weapon? If the white-skinned pigs of the United States had a face, they wouldn't be white-skinned pigs anymore.
Qin Shingshuan died like this?" The summer country's network was filled with righteous indignation after learning about everything that happened in Tokyo.
Not being able to defeat him, he even resorted to using such a weapon, shameless to the extreme. In the eastern capital, Chen Mengyao looked at the satellite image, her hands trembling as she held her coffee cup. Positronic cannons. The Miguo people even utilized a supernormal weapon like the positronic cannon.
"Chen Mom, is Qin Dad dead?"
An inquiring voice came from the small broken car.
Chen Mengyao's body trembled slightly when she heard this voice. "I don't know. Maybe he really."
Xia's network was filled with the color of righteous indignation, constantly cursing the shamelessness of the Mi Army, and more than anything else, expecting Qin Shingshuan not to have an accident. Only, the power of this cannon was too terrifying, and Qin Shingshuan was afraid that he would be in a bad way.
Chapter 361, Purge.
On Tokyo Bay, amongst the battleships of the United States of America.
"Did it work?"
Captain Jones looked at the huge screen and asked loudly.
"Definitely dead," an officer said.
The power of the positron cannon, they knew very well. In this world, it would be impossible for anyone to physically carry it. As this voice fell, cheers came from the bridge. Qin Shingshuan was dead, and their great military merit had arrived. When they returned, they would be rewarded with additional titles.
No.
Only at this moment, the communication soldier suddenly spoke out.
And at the moment of speaking, the image from the satellite that was connected.
Only, the moment this image appeared, all the people within the battleship who were originally cheering froze. Only to see, within the image, Qin Fan stood in the center of the ruins, and the pair of eyes that looked like the eyes of a god or a demon, as if through a screen, gazed at everyone in the bridge, causing everyone to shudder.
He didn't die?"
The officer who accessed the image looked at Qin Fan in the screen and said in a trembling voice. As for the others, their eyes were wide open as they looked at Qin Fan in the image.
How is this possible? Joan's voice trembled. Is he a monster? Even the Hulk should die.
The officers of the Me army continuously made sounds of horror.
Under the positronic bombardment, Qin Xingxian surprisingly did not die.
Moreover, in the picture, these people looked at Qin Fan as if he was not injured. Everyone on the entire battleship had a cold back at the moment, and their hearts were beating wildly, simply unable to believe what was happening in front of them. This was a positron cannon that was comparable to the power of a nuclear bomb from World War II. As a result, someone carried it hard with their flesh.
What kind of monster was this? Was this really a human being?
And at the moment when everyone was shocked, the corner of Qin Fan's mouth moved slightly, then he stepped out and then his figure then disappeared.
He's here, all hands on deck. Joan's heart trembled as he saw Qin Fan disappear into the picture and he immediately shouted.
As his voice fell, the Me army warships that came, as well as the fighter jets, and all kinds of weapons were deployed. The roar of the fighters resounded, and those 30 fighters that had long been on standby took off from the base. These fighters were all the latest F-22s that had been modified through black technology, and when they took off, a sonic boom sounded. At the same time, there were also alien power users and cultivators in the Rice army, who also came out one after another. In an instant, countless warplanes broke through the sky over Tokyo Bay, dozens of warships lined up across the sea, countless artillery guns rotated, countless psychics, cultivators, and soldiers of the Rice army holding all kinds of weapons, standing by to form a dragnet, waiting for Qin Fan to come. If the positronic cannons failed to blast Qin Fan to death, they would use the entire modernized army to annihilate Qin Xingxian. Soon, a figure rushed into the array of the Me army from the sky. The person who came was naturally Qin Fan. At this moment, his face was icy cold and his whole body was steaming with murderous aura. Earlier, if it wasn't for him reacting fast enough to protect his body with liquid sword intent, he would definitely have been injured under that cannon. The power of that cannon just now was already comparable to the power of divine abilities cast by the most ordinary Yuaning realm. Even with the liquid sword intent protecting his body was not injured in any way, but a piece of the corner of his body had been burned off. After rushing into the formation, Qin Fan did not have a trace of nonsense. His right hand was clenched and a long sword appeared in his hand. This sword was a light golden color with a faint golden light shining on it. This was his original sword and the Heavenly Qin clan's greatest treasure, named the Imperial Heavenly Sword. Since coming to Earth, he had never utilized his own innate sword because there was no need to. However, today, he was truly angered. Qin Xingxian has appeared, all fire. The moment Qin Fan appeared, Jones did not hesitate for a second and gave the order to fire. Boom boom boom. Countless sounds of artillery fire resounded, a missile was fired, and the huge firepower interweaved into a dragnet, covering the sky and earth towards Qin Fan. In response, Qin Fan raised the royal heavenly sword in his hand, the heavenly dipper divine sword skill was unleashed, and golden sword intent surged out like a sea tide. In an instant, that golden sword intent transformed into a huge golden lake above the void, suspended upside down above Tokyo Bay, and all of that golden lake water was transformed by Qin Fan's sword intent. The golden lake of sword intent rippled above the sky, shining with a brilliant golden sword aura.
What is it? A golden lake sounding in the sky?
Those Me army looked at the strange scene above the sky, all froze. Not only the Rice army, but the entire city of Tokyo also froze as they looked at the golden lake in the sky above. My god, what's happening on Tokyo Bay?
The golden lake is like Amaterasu Amikami. Is this also Amaterasu Amikami descending into the world?
Anyone who could see the golden lake in the sky was shocked and unable to speak.
And Oda Kumiko, the strongest survivors, were equally stunned as they looked at the golden lake in the distant sky. Oda Kumiko looked at the golden lake above the sky and trembled. It's hard to say, could it be that Qin Xingxian didn't die?
And after the crowd was shocked, Qin Fan held his sword in the air, his whole body was filled with killing intent. The current him had once again transformed back into the killing god that had once killed all the way through the immortal cultivation world.
You all deserve to die. Qin Fan's cold voice echoed in the air.
The voice was cold to the bone, and those who heard it had their entire body trembling. And the moment his words fell, the golden sword intent transformed into golden raindrops that fell low from the lake. A torrential rain of sword intent appeared at this moment. These golden raindrops were all Qin Fan's sword intent, and these drops of sword intent fell on warplanes, missiles, battleships, and anything that was touched was destroyed and dissipated by this extreme sword intent.
Boom boom boom.
Countless sounds of explosions resounded on Tokyo Bay. After one fighter plane after another was contaminated with the drops of sword intent, it was that which was chopped to pieces and exploded. Countless battleships collapsed and exploded. After those soldiers, those aberrations came into contact with the raindrops of sword intent. They couldn't even send out the sound of screams before they were pierced through by the golden raindrops of sword intent and then annihilated. Their corpses were left without any bones. Under the rain of golden sword intent, in just a few minutes' time, the Mi Army's naval fleet disappeared in Tokyo Bay. Qin Fan looked at the empty Tokyo Bay, took out his cell phone and dialed Chen Mengyao's number.
Qin Fan, are you alright?
As soon as the call was connected, Chen Mengyao's shocked and incomparable voice immediately came. Send me the locations of all the military bases of the Mi Army around East Asia. Qin Fan did not answer but said coldly. Upon hearing this, Chen Mengyao froze for a moment and asked in a trembling voice, "What do you
want to do?"
"Purge," Qin Fan said indifferently.
Chapter 362, No One Survives. Are you crazy? That's a military base of the meter country. Are you preparing to start a world war by destroying it?
Chen Mengyao immediately exclaimed in shock upon hearing this. Purge the overseas military bases of the Mi Army. This was equivalent to attacking the Mi country's mainland. This move was towards triggering World War III for anyone who looked at it. I'm not asking for your opinion, I'm ordering. You either give it to me now or I'll find someone else to give it to me. It's nothing more than wasting some time, Qin Fan said with little emotion.
Chen Mengyao's scalp tingled as she listened.
The purge, Qin Fan, was imperative. There was no longer any room for discussion. This time, Qin Fan was truly angered. Coming to this cultivation era of the end of the law, Qin Fan had never been truly angered. However, now, the Mi Army's sudden use of this unconventional weapon to sneak attack had really and completely moved him to anger. Chen Mengyao was silent for a long time, and finally she compromised and said in a trembling voice, "I will send it to you." Qin Fan hung up the phone and looked at the screen of his cell phone, and soon received a map, which was labeled with the Mi Army military bases along East Asia. Qin Fan glanced at it and immediately memorized the locations of these military bases with his powerful divine soul. In the next moment, Qin Fan disappeared above Tokyo Bay. Chen Mengyao, who was far away in the eastern capital of the Summer Kingdom, had her hands trembling after sending the message. She couldn't even anticipate what would happen tomorrow.
Right now, everything could only be left to time. And on the East Asian side of the internet, it was still noisy.
Rice is just too shameless.
Rice is not only shameless, it also has no humanity. How is Rice shameless?
It deserves to die without this kind of weapon itself.
Right, let Xia not have this kind of unconventional black technology weapon.
How could Xia have it? It would only plagiarize. On the East Asia side of the network, some people were extremely displeased with Rice's behavior, while others were shouting that Papa Rice was invincible only. While the network was bickering, a shocking piece of news appeared on the network. On August 21, 2023, at 7:31 p.m., the Yokosuka and Sasebo bases in Tokyo Bay of the Mi Kingdom were destroyed, with no survivors within the bases, and they were left in ruins. In an instant, a large number of appeared on the internet, thinking it was fake news. It was thought to be fake news. However, with the current powerful technology and satellite systems, pictures of the ruins of the Yokosuka and Sasebo military bases were quickly found.
Crap! Oh my god!
Countless people made shocked and incomparable noises on the internet, and almost no one believed this to be true. However, the real-time satellite pictures that were sent out did tell the world that the overseas military bases of the country had been attacked, not only attacked but also completely destroyed, with not a single survivor.
Crazy, who did this? Crap, is this preparation for war? Should I go pick up bottle caps?
Countless shocked voices appeared on the network, because this was completely declaring war on the number one country of the world, the meter country. However, while everyone was exclaiming in shock, no one thought that this was just the beginning.
Half an hour later, another shocking global message came out.
On August 21, 2023, at 8:01 p.m., the Okota and Zama military bases were attacked and reduced to rubble, with no survivors. As soon as this news appeared, the first reaction of people around the world was still false, but, as before, some people immediately used satellite maps to check the authenticity. It's true, the military base in the country of Rice has been attacked and turned into ruins again. A famous reporter confirmed it and sent out the news, which instantly sent the world's network into a frenzy. F***ck, this is the wrath of God.
Rice is finally being punished for all the evil it has done. Punish the hell, you want the earth to be destroyed. Who do you think did this? Are you preparing to start a world war?
Countless voices came out on the internet. Many people praised that no matter who did it, this was punishing. More people were worried that this was going to start a third world war. This was going to destroy the earth. You guys, so many military bases have been destroyed. Will something happen to that Okinawa base next? As the entire network exploded, someone coldly threw out a question. This question the entire network fell silent for a moment, because the Okinawa military base was the largest military base of the Mii army, stationed more than close to 40,000 elite troops, but also equipped with countless cutting-edge weapons. All kinds of black tech weapons were in it. It shouldn't be, right? If Okinawa is really destroyed, I'll really go pick up bottle caps tomorrow. Countless people are anxious. Okinawa is the most important military base of the United States in East Asia and the Asia Pacific. If something really happened, cannot imagine. At the same time, Okinawa Sergeant Base can be said to be the grass is full of soldiers. Japan within a number of military bases in just less than an hour was destroyed. The news came in, the entire base has entered the highest level of combat readiness, all the warplanes, weapons, warships, all in the state of ready to go. The highest commander of Okinawa Base, Lawrence, had a grave expression on his face at the moment. He received a video call from Admiral Robert. Admiral, who the hell did this? Was it Kumaguni? Was it Eikoku? Or was it the Xia Kingdom? Lawrence inquired. Lawrence was in a trance like everyone else in the world at the moment. Because he didn't know who did it. The one who did this in this world didn't exist as far as he thought. But now it had happened. So much so, that it felt like he wasn't living in the real world. I don't know, now that multiple sergeant bases have been destroyed consecutively, it's likely that you'll be next, so you have to be completely prepared to find out who this person is, and even blast this person to death. Admiral Robert's face was also hard to see. Was there really someone or any power in this world that dared to do this? This was to prepare for war with Milky Way. I Ming. Lawrence listened then spoke out. When he only just said 2 words, his eyes fiercely glared, duh 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 duh. At the same time, the sound of a violent alarm came from within the base. What's wrong? Admiral Robert immediately asked when he saw this. It was just that Lawrence didn't have time to answer. He saw the edge of the sky, a golden light appeared. This blade of light was incomparably bright, as if a golden divine dragon came across the sky. After the golden light fell, it was like a long golden river with vast rivers that poured down, flooding the entire base. All of these golden rivers were liquid sword intent, and under this sword intent, the Okinawa military base turned into ashes, and tens of thousands of meter troops went up in smoke. At 8:44 on August 21, 2023, the Rice Army's Okinawa military base was destroyed, reduced to rubble, no survivors. Chapter 363, No Way to Take Revenge. August 21, 7:31 p.m., the Rice military base in Yokosuka and Sasebo in Tokyo Bay was destroyed. No one inside the base survived and was reduced to rubble. At 8:01 p.m. on August 21, the Yokota and Zama military bases were attacked, reduced to rubble with no survivors. At 8:44 p.m. on August 21, the Japanese Rice Army Okinawa military base was destroyed and reduced to rubble. August 21, 9:12 p.m., South Korean Rice Army base in Pyeongtaek, reduced to rubble, no survivors. On August 22, news after news that shocked the world scrolled and brushed out. Overnight, all of Rice's military bases in East Asia were destroyed and reduced to rubble. Not a single one of the more than 150,000 miles troops survived. At this moment, everyone in the world felt that a world war was coming. The United States of America, as the world's #1 power, was slaughtered by so many overseas military bases and even more than 150,000 soldiers overnight, which was completely equivalent to stepping on the face of the United States of America, not only stepping on it, but also rubbing their feet on the face. This is something that has never happened since the founding of the United States of America. The group within the United States of America was furious and demanded that the United States of America send out an army to take revenge. We will take revenge. The President of the United States of America made a speech, vowing to avenge the 150,000 miles troops. After delivering his speech, the Army of the United States of America was mobilized in a big way, posing the determination to swear revenge. At this moment, the world was in a great crisis, and it seemed that the Third World War was about to start. After the Rice Army was mobilized in a big way, there was no more action, and it seemed to have fallen into silence. Rice, White Palace. President Joe Bayshore telephoned the head of SIA. I can guarantee that this has nothing to do with our Xia government. If you use this to start a war against our Xia country, we will definitely launch a counterattack at all costs. The highest chief of Xia made an explanation. Zhou Beiside's face was so hard to see that he was unable to speak. He's from the summer country, you must find him and give us, the United States of America, an explanation. It was only after a few moments that Zhou Bish spoke out. President Zhou, I feel that you have misunderstood one thing. Firstly, you guys used the positron cannon to bombard Qin Xingxian, and there is a high probability that Qin Xingxian died under the positron cannon. Secondly, you have violated the International Weapons Convention by using the positron cannon and attacking the Qin Xingxian. I can understand any retaliation he makes, of course, everything he does has nothing to do with our official Xia country, the military department. All consequences of this matter should be borne by yourselves. Therefore, the Xia kingdom will not cooperate with you in anything. The head of the Xia country sat steadily on the mountain and said word for word. After saying that, the head of the summer country cut off the phone connection. Bang! Zhou Beiside slammed the phone down fiercely, then his entire body felt deflated. The officials below, on the other hand, were as gloomy as water. The United States of America had mobilized the entire nation's army, vowing to take revenge. However, there was a very big problem in front of them. That is, to whom to take revenge. From the intelligence from all sides, it was very likely that it was that superpower called Qin Xingxian who had done it. Milky Way wanted to take revenge on Qin Xingxian. Only, Qin Xingxian was only one person. To take revenge on one person with the entire Milky Way's power, this was simply a fantasy. Moreover, if it was really done, would the name of the world's #1 power still be preserved? What was even more frightening was that if the United States of America did not take revenge, the name of the world's #1 power would be equally untenable. Moreover, what was even more fatal was that the United States of America's forces in Japan had utilized a super conventional weapon, the positron cannon, and under the watchful eyes of countless people, had blasted the Tokyo skytree into ruins with a single shot, causing the deaths of 300,000 people in the country of Japan, and Qin Xingxian had also disappeared from the scene under that single shot. Therefore, countless people believed that Qin Xingxian had died under the positron cannon. Therefore, they had no goal of revenge. If they used the Xia kingdom as a target for revenge, it would be a lose-lose situation. If, however, they did not take revenge, they would not be able to explain themselves to the public. At this moment, the entire United States of America is in a dilemma, extremely embarrassing position. Who would have thought that someone would be able to destroy all the military bases of the United States of America in East Asia by himself, and even massacred more than 150,000 soldiers of the United States? This was a demon, a god of killing. Mr. President, we don't need to worry about the people. As long as we manipulate the media and control public opinion, these populace will forget about this matter in a few days. Just as Zhou Beishore was at a loss over this, the director of the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America swore and stood up and said, "You mean don't take revenge?" Joe Byrne looked at for the director. "We are a democracy. The biggest advantage of a democracy is that no one needs to be held accountable. We just need to do a good job of media manipulation and controlling public opinion, and the people will soon forget about it." This CIA director said with conviction all the media in the United States of America were manipulated by the government, and the people had been brainwashed and happily educated for years and years, and except for those top elites, the rest had already been a group of stupid pigs with low IQs. As long as the media is manipulated, this national hatred will soon be forgotten. Those present nodded their heads in agreement after listening to the words of this director. The greatest benefit of democracy was that no one was in charge. Then, we can have some of the terrorist organizations that we have cultivated declare that they are responsible for this matter, and after that, choose an appropriate time to announce that the enemy has died in the hands of army, and then the country will just be in a state of jubilation, and the great hatred will be avenged. This director continued. When the crowd heard this, they immediately praised this director for being knowledgeable about the army. In the end, this director revealed another treacherous smile and said, "And during this period of time, we can still use this as an excuse to increase our military spending and raise our military sales, so that the people can see that we are trying to avenge ourselves. As for the name of the first power, as long as we don't do anything, we haven't lost, and through the media propaganda, we are still the first power of the world." When Zhou Beiside and the other officials heard this, they were overjoyed. This was an opportunity for them to use this as an excuse to make a big profit. As for, to avenge or not to avenge, did it matter? It didn't matter at all. Anyway, the election was coming up in 2 years, and they didn't even know if they were still in the position or not.
As for that, what does it matter if the 100,000 or so rice troops die? It's enough that our wallets are full.
Okay, let's do it. Joe Bayshore sealed the deal. Immediately, the officials did things according to this method. When all the officials were gone, Joe Bish breathed a sigh of relief. This matter was sort of resolved. Only, at this moment, a white light suddenly flashed, which instantly made Joe Bay's face suddenly changed, and then hurriedly got up and made an extremely respectful posture.
Soon, a white shadow appeared as God descended. Lord God.
Joe Bayshore hurriedly said respectfully.
Has the United States of America fallen to this?
The god let out a low voice, which instantly caused Joe Bayshore's forehead to break out in a cold sweat.
Lord God, do you mean that you want us to take revenge with all our might?
Joe Bayashi said warily. Just do as I just said. As for that Qin Xian, I'll personally deal with him this time.
The god voiced out emotionlessly. Chapter 364, I don't know.
The news of the destruction of the Mi army base in East Asia and the deaths of over 150,000 soldiers spread throughout the entire world, and everyone was waiting for Milky Way to react, and the United States of America did react. All the major fleets were mobilized, ready to go, and put on a posture of not reporting this revenge, never stop. The whole world was waiting for the United States of America to show its invincible military. And on the second day after the destruction of the military base of the United States of America, a S-level organization named Heaven announced that it was responsible for this incident. The world was in an uproar when this declaration came out. Heaven was an anti-Me terrorist organization that was active all over the world. This organization had a huge power and was active all over the world, and was rated as an S-class organization. The Rice Army's many sieges had failed to completely eliminate it, instead allowing it to continue to grow. In this organization, there are many powerful practitioners and psychics, but also a large number of black technology weapons. Of course, there were rumors in the world that this organization was actually an organization that was raised by the Milky Way itself, which simply means that it was raising an enemy. I am the deputy leader of Heaven, Park Ji-shun, because of the United States of America's shameless use of super-conventional weapons, resulting in the death of our leader Qin Xian. In order to take revenge, we destroyed all of Milky Way's military bases in East Asia. But this is just the beginning. For the sake of our leader, our vengeance will never stop. The negative remarks released by Heaven shocked the world as well, but not many people started to believe it. Many felt that it was Heaven's way of putting gold on their faces. However, 10 minutes after Heaven released the news, one of the Mi army's military bases in Southeast Asia was attacked and suffered heavy losses. After that, a large number of Western media released news, pointing their fingers directly at Heaven, making many people in this world believe that Qin Xian was the Heaven leader. And the President of the United States of America also immediately announced that he would start the operation to eliminate Heaven. As a result, the United States of America opened a new round of global operations, thus confirming that Qin Xian is the leader of Heaven. Inside the conference room of the government headquarters in the central capital of Xia. At this moment, the head of the Xia Kingdom, the 6 elders, and Supreme Commander Qin Ziyang of the military department were all present.
Qin Ziyang, are you saying that this Qin Xian is the titular admiral of the Jade Void Palace, Qin Fan?
The chief asked as he looked at Qin Ziyang. Qin Ziyang nodded and said, the world only knows Qin Xian, but not Qin Fan. This Qin Xian, what he did this time was really beyond our expectations. We were even prepared to go to war with Milky Way at one point. However, I didn't expect that the United States of America would use this method to deal with this matter. It seems that the United States of America is also no longer the unrivaled United States of America that it once was.
After the chief confirmed Qin Xian's identity, he couldn't help but sigh. Originally, he was all ready to go to war, but now, he didn't expect that the state of affairs would develop in the direction of an eyewitness. The United States of America, it's no longer the United States of America that reigned supreme back then. The current United States of America is now outwardly strong. If you give him a good face, he'll only bully you. If you slap him up with a backhanded slap, he'll seriously think about what to do. An elder also sighed. This time, Qin Xian has cleared almost all of the first island chain on the first island Pacific Ocean. He has made a tremendous feat. He must be rewarded properly. The second elder said.
That's right, this is a great merit for the Xia Kingdom. The next step is for our Xia Kingdom to take the final step to the southeast.
Another elder said.
When the others heard this, they smiled at each other, already knowing what the Xia Kingdom was going to do next. And all of this was because of what Qin Fan had done, all of a sudden letting people see out that Milky Way had long since stopped being the unbeatable Milky Way back then. Xiagua, too, should be ready to take that step, chief, elders. Although the things done on the side of me Li Jin did surprise me, I'm afraid that the force behind me Li Jin, or even the force behind the West, won't rest easily.
Qin Ziang then said extremely solemnly.
The chief and the elders immediately looked grave upon hearing this. They knew that the transcendent force behind the United States of America definitely knew everything that had happened. Qin Ziang, with the covenant in place, if the Hall of Gods makes a move, then the ancient immortal descendants on our side must make a move.
The chief said.
When Qin Ziang heard this, he frowned and didn't reply.
Seeing this, the chief and the elders' faces suddenly became grave, then asked, "What?"
Qin Ziang looked at this chief and nodded. "I will relay the matter to the ancient immortal descent."
"Not relay it, but demand that they abide by the covenant,"
the chief said in a deep voice.
Qin Ziang took a deep breath and said, "I will try my best to fulfill the mission." The chief and these elders fell into silence after hearing this. After a moment, the chief waved his hand to indicate that Qin Ziang could retire first. Qin Ziang nodded and got up to leave.
"Prepare the rewards for Qin Fan, absolutely no shortchanging,"
the chief finally instructed. Qin Ziang nodded and said, "I know."
After saying that, Qin Ziang walked out of the conference room, then with a flash of his figure, he quickly returned to the Jade Void Palace. Inside the Jade Void Palace, he saw a beautiful young girl dressed in purple.
"Divine Maiden Xiao, why have you come out of the gate? Didn't you say that you won't come out until you enter the legend?" Qin Ziang asked with a smile when he saw the visitor.
"Old man Qin, with such a big event happening, how can I retreat in peace?"
Xiao Huanger blankly glanced at Qin Ziang and said. Qin Ziang smiled, then walked over to the tea table and asked, "Do you want some tea?" "Let's get down to business." Xiao Huanger sat down and said. "What business?" Qin Ziang asked knowingly.
This time, Mi Lian did bow down. "Only, a person who can physically carry a weapon like the positronic cannon, the Hall of Gods definitely can't sit still,"
Xiao Huanger said.
Qin Ziang poured a cup of tea and sighed. This Qin Fan's strength is unfathomable, it's just that he doesn't realize that the water in this world is just too deep.
"If the Hall of Gods really makes a move, will they make a move?" Xiao Huanger asked.
"If you're asking me, you might as well ask your grandfather, or ask the old ancestor of the Xiao family."
Qin Ziang looked at Xiao Huanger and said.
Xiao Huanger rolled her eyes and said, "I don't want to go back to the clan." Qin Ziang laughed when he heard this. "I always thought that it was fake that you didn't want to return to the clan before you ran here to be the Xiao goddess, but now it seems that it's really not fake."
"Don't you pull away from the topic," Xiao Huanger said without any good humor. "I don't know."
Qin Ziang said with a helpless look on his face, "The covenant has been over for so many years, whether the people of the ancient immortal descent will abide by it, who knows?"
"So, this time, Qin Fan might have to face the Hall of Gods alone?" Xiao Huanger asked.
Qin Ziang's brows furrowed as he heard this, then said with extreme gravity, "You have a balance that has been maintained, and one day, the balance tilts. What would you do? Take away the thing that destroys the balance,"
Xiao Huanger immediately said.
And after she finished speaking, her face changed drastically before she exclaimed, "No way. No one can guess what those old monsters have in mind, so I can only say, I don't know." Qin Ziang sighed and said.
Chapter 365, Those Who Disobey, Kill It.
The whole world was in an uproar because of the destruction of the US military base, but the official Japanese country, the cultivation world, was dead silent. In fact, the whole country had been trying to make Japan a normal country, and the biggest obstacle was the military bases of the United States of America in Japan. Now that these military bases had all been destroyed, a great opportunity was in front of them. However, these high-ranking officials in cultivation circles in Japan did not dare to act rashly. Because, at this moment, there was a mountain that was even more terrifying than those military bases in Milky Way pressing down on them, making them only bend over, not daring to have any thoughts at all. And this mountain is Qin Xingxian. Oda Shingen lost to Qin Xingxian. Not only did he lose, but he was also reduced to ashes under the positron cannon Qin Xingxian. On the other hand, after wiping out all of the Mi forces on Tokyo Bay, he flattened all of the American bases in East Asia. He had done everything to humiliate the United States of America, but the United States of America was now trying to trivialize the matter. It means that the unrivaled Milky Way is afraid and has bowed down to Qin Xingxian.
And this character, who was in Japan right now, hadn't left yet.
At this very moment, living within the imperial residence of the Emperor of Japan. Although the Emperor does not have any real power in Japan, but the status is incomparably high. The imperial residence can be said to be the highest status residence in the entire country of Japan. Now this residence had changed ownership and had become Qinfan's property.
Mr. Qin, the internet is saying that you are dead.
Lu Ziyan said with a smile as she brewed a cup of good tea for Qinfan. How can the world's eyes understand me?
Qinfan drank tea while holding his cell phone to send a message.
The message was sent to Lin Qingyan. Qinfan sent a message to Lin Qingyan to report that she was safe, so as to save this woman from thinking nonsense. And after Lin Qingyan learned about it, she was naturally very happy and shocked, and after chatting for a few moments, what she was most concerned about was when Qinfan would be back. Qinfan said it might take another 10 days and half a month. Lin Qingyan returned a crying expression, then instructed Qinfan to make sure to come back before September 19th.
Try my best.
Qinfan returned the message and then exited the chat.
Lin Qingyan? She is?
Lu Ziyan asked with some curiosity when her eyes saw the person Qinfan had sent the tweet to.
Her. Qinfan thought for a moment after hearing this and said, my wife.
When Lu Ziyan heard this, the teapot in her hand shook slightly, splashing out some water onto the table. Sorry.
Lu Ziyan saw this and said in a hurry. Qinfan looked at Lu Ziyan and then asked, what, surprised?
Lu Ziyan was stunned at the words, then bit her lips and said, indeed, there are some surprises. I had thought that a character like you should be full of red faces. Lu Ziyan's meaning is very obvious, that is to say, you such a character should not only have a wife, there should be a lot of confidants. Qinfan naturally heard the meaning of the words, laughed, you just need to do a good job for me, there is no shortage of your benefits. Lu Ziyan smiled sweetly, then said, Mr. Qin's matter is my matter, I will absolutely try my best to do well. Qinfan nodded and said, do a good job and help me build Tianqin City. Master, the Mitsui Foundation, the Jirue Foundation, the Tano Foundation, and many of its Japanese plutocrats have come to pay their respects. Do you want to see them? Just then, Sasaki Saori walked in and said respectfully to Qinfan. Qinfan heard this and looked towards Lu Ziyan and asked, what do you think their purpose is? I think they want to make a confession to Mr. Qin so that they can save their little lives and wealth. Lu Ziyan then tried to laugh. Qinfan nodded and said, then what do you think should be done? Mr. Qin, it's very simple, send and receive whatever you want, let them become your subordinates, then you can cultivate puppets in the Japanese country, and after that you can be the supreme emperor of the Japanese country. Lu Ziyan immediately said. Lu Ziyan still knew the Japanese country very well, the prime minister. The parliamentarians were all the spokespersons of these plutocrats. As long as the plutocrats were in their hands, then the entire country of Japan was Qinfan's property. Qinfan after this shocking battle, enough to become the Japanese country behind the scenes of the real power of the emperor. If not sincere, I'm afraid, those plutocrats who know the truth, can only go up in smoke. Now, if they hugged Qinfan's thigh, they could save their lives and wealth. And if Qinfan took control of these plutocrats, then he would be the true ruler of the Japanese nation. Qinfan looked at Lu Ziyan and nodded in satisfaction, then said, then a puppet is still needed. Who do you think should be chosen? Naturally, it's Ms. Sasaki Saori. Lu Ziyan immediately said. When Sasaki Saori heard this, her heart jumped violently and she immediately looked at Lu Ziyan and hurriedly said, I still want to serve at my master's left and right. Sasaki Saori certainly understood Lu Ziyan's thoughts. As long as she became Qinfan's puppet in Japan, it would be impossible for her to stay by Qinfan's side. Becoming Qinfan's management Japanese puppet could indeed obtain countless benefits. However, were these benefits comparable to the benefits of accompanying Qinfan around? It was absolutely impossible. And naturally, Lu Ziyan's thoughts were clear to her. As she said, like Qinfan, such a character, the red face is bound to be all over the world, only can always stay by his side woman, can become his woman. Only by becoming Qinfan's real woman could he obtain the greatest benefits. Lu Ziyan aimed to have one less competitor. That's what I'm considering, Saori, you'll be my spokesperson in the Japanese country from now on. Qinfan said. The country of Japan was a large area with a large population. He was not interested in managing such a large country, still getting the spokesperson and taking wealth was enough, as for the rest whatever. Master, I can't do it, those people will never be able to serve me, Sasaki Saori said in a hurry. Not serve? The corner of Qinfan's mouth curled up slightly at his words, give me your hand. Sasaki Saori froze for a moment at her words, then extended her hand before spreading it out. Shinfan then stretched out his fingers and kept drawing something on Sasaki Saori's palm. A moment later, he withdrew his hand, and a decree pattern appeared on Sasaki Saori's hand. This is the decree I gave you, it can be used 10 times, and those who disobey it will be killed. Shinfan said indifferently after drawing it. Sasaki Saori was slightly stunned and looked at Shinfan with incredulity. Master, this? Shinfan did not answer, but taught Sasaki Saori how to use the decree, and then said, You can now go and meet those people from the consortium instead of me, and say that you are my spokesperson in Japan, and those who don't obey, just kill. Chapter 366, I want your favor more than anything else. Japanese country, the Grand Hall of the Heavenly Emperor's Palace. At this moment, within the main hall, stood the president of the major consortiums in Japan, as well as many senior officials in Japan, and even the head of the Yamaguchi Group, the largest underground gang in Japan. These people's faces were very ugly, because right in front of them, there was a woman sitting on the emperor's seat. And the woman was Sasaki Saori. Sasaki Saori's heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest as she sat in the emperor's seat. Once upon a time, she had represented the Sasaki family as a representative of the Nippon and Ocean Chamber of Commerce, and was considered to have some status. But compared to this group of people in front of her, it was really like a mole cricket. Among these people, if just one of them stomped their feet, there would be a huge earthquake in Japan. Facing this group of characters, Sasaki Saori was really nervous at the moment. Sasaki Saori, the one we want to see is Mr. Shin, not you. Kawada Ryuichi, the leader of the Yamaguchi Group, walked out with a gloomy face and asked. Kawada Ryuichi was in his 50s, with a shocking scar on his face, which appeared to be extremely hideous. His cultivation was at the peak of the Grand Master's cultivation, and it took him 15 years to fight his way up from the lowest level to the position of the head of the Yamaguchi Group, becoming the most upper echelon of the Japanese nation. He was definitely a ruthless character. Sasaki Saori looked at Kawada Ryuichi, her petite body slightly trembling. Such a character, she couldn't even recognize the person before, not to mention meeting him. Now, having her face such a character all of a sudden really made her tremble with fear. However, she had to do well. Because this was the task Shinfan had given her. If she couldn't do it to her master's satisfaction, then she was a useless person who would only be discarded. Kawada Ryuichi, I am now representing my master, so if you have anything to say, say it, and if you don't have anything to say, then back off. Sasaki Saori said with a cold face. Bugger. As soon as Kawada Ryuichi heard this, his face turned livid. You, a woman, who gave you the guts to sit in this position? And the moment he said this, it caused the others to reveal very dissatisfied looks as well. Although the emperor had no real power, but his position was honorable, and the Japanese country was a country where men were superior to women, and now a woman was sitting in the position that only an emperor could sit in a dignified manner, it was a humiliation for these people. Sasaki Saori, you have no right to speak here. Get off, it's Qin Qingshan we want to see. Many of the consortium presidents had spoken out forcefully. They were all human beings. If they couldn't meet Qin Qingshan today and were instead sent off by Sasaki Saori, then they would be defeated, and then they would casually be taken down by Qin Qingshan. Therefore, they had come with so many people this time, they had to show that they were strong enough so that they could fight for enough benefits with Qin Qingshan. For a country as large as the Japanese nation, Qin Qingshan could not manage it and could only rely on them. Shut up! Sasaki Saori fiercely snapped. You are not qualified to meet my master. When these people heard this, their faces instantly became unsightly. While Kawada Ryuichi's face sank, his body's aura fiercely raised, then he stepped out and blasted out a fist towards Sasaki Saori. Seeing this, Sasaki Saori's face was as calm as water, and in her heart, she was already silently reciting the mantra that Shinfan had taught her. In an instant, purple electric light shone above her palm, and then a purple electric dragon violently rushed out from her hand. This purple electric dragon was more than 3 meters long and half a meter wide, and after it appeared, it violently opened its mouth and bit Kawada longing into its stomach. Ah! A mournful and incomparable screaming sound accompanied by a terrifying sound of thunder came out, instantly causing the scalps of those present to go numb. Soon, the purple electric dragon disappeared and the electric light dispersed, leaving only a charred and unrecognizable corpse. When Sasaki Saori saw the scene, her heart was also horrified. The decree given by Shinfan was so terrifying that he killed a peak grandmaster with a single thought. And she immediately stabilized her mind and said in a cold voice, whoever dares to be rude again, this is what will happen. The moment these words came out, the entire room fell dead silent, and each of them looked at Sasaki Saori in horror. After a moment, they all stepped back. Alright, tell me your business and I'll relay it to the master.
Sasaki Saori said expressionlessly. These characters who had once been unrivaled in the Japanese nation, one by one turned as if they were obedient lapdogs. You, Mitsui Ichiro, you first. Sasaki Saori pointed at one person and said.
Mitsui Ichiro was the president of the Mitsui Foundation, the largest consortium in Japan. Mitsui Ichiro, a man in his 50s, stepped out tremblingly. I just want Your Excellency Qin Xian, this is, our consortium's meet and greet gift, 30 billion yen. Sasaki Saori listened and nodded in satisfaction. She was somewhat enjoying her current status. This really was a word that determined a person's life and death. And this was all given to her by her master Qin Xian. About 4 hours later, after Sasaki Saori finished receiving everyone, she went to see Qin Fan. Qin Fan was lying on the tatami mat, and Lu Zian was like a little daughter-in-law, peeling this fruit for him and then delivering it to Qin Fan's mouth. Qin Fan saw that Sasaki Saori had returned, then sat up and said, Speak. Master, these people are the ones who came to climb up the ladder and then sent a meet and greet gift, which is currently estimated to reach 500 billion yen, and after that there will be all sorts of other things. And then, because of that battle, the Prime Minister died, and soon there will be an election for Prime Minister. Sasaki Saori reported the things one by one to Pro Qin Fan. Saori, you will be the first female Prime Minister of Japan. Lu Zian smiled sweetly after hearing this. Sasaki Saori smiled with some difficulty. Just work well for me, and you will be the Empress of the Japanese country in the future, Qin Fan said to Sasaki Saori. Upon hearing this, Sasaki Saori immediately knelt down and said to Qin Fan, Master, I want your favor even more. Experiencing all that Qin Fan had given her, she knew that she had to completely bind Qin Fan, or else all of this would be nothing more than a passing cloud. When Lu Zian heard this, her face instantly turned red. She naturally heard the meaning of Sasaki Saori's words, and in her heart, she couldn't help but curse, Japanese women are all sluts. Qin Fan smiled at her words, then said, Right now, you're not qualified to have me graced. When you've done well enough, I'll naturally give it to you. Upon hearing this, Sasaki Saori immediately raised her head and said, Master, I definitely won't let you down, I will definitely get your favor. Qin Fan nodded, then said, Have Oda Kumiko come see me. Chapter 367, There's a Monster. Inside the imperial residence, Qin Fan looked at Oda Kumiko and asked, Where did you find Oda Shingen's heavenly demon? Qin Fan was very curious about the origins of the heavenly devils because the heavenly devils were very troublesome and special creatures. Heavenly devils like to form groups, so behind these 6 heavenly devils, a large number of heavenly devils might have appeared. And the reason he was after the heavenly devils was because they were the main ingredient for refining the Bai Luodan. The Bai Luodan was an excellent kind of elixir for the Yuaning stage. On Earth, heavenly materials and treasures were scarce, and it was extremely difficult to refine an elixir that would be useful to him. Now that he had met a heavenly demon, Qin Fan definitely wanted to capture it to refine the Bailuodan, and even if he could find a demon king level, that is, a heavenly demon at the Yuaning stage, he would be able to refine the Bailuograndan, which would help him reach the great circle of the Yuaning realm. The stage from the late Yuaning realm to the great perfection was very difficult on a planet like Earth at the end of the world. Even though he had retrieved quite a few fragments of the Chaos Pearl's great Tao, the enhancement to his cultivation was not obvious, but the enhancement to his battle power was extremely astonishing. For example, after one's sword intent liquefied, the power of one's sword aptitude had at least doubled. I don't know. Oda Kumiko knelt in front of Qin Fan, and in her heart, she could not say that there was no hatred, but more fear. Don't know? Isn't Oda Shingen your grandpa? Qin Fan's brows furrowed as he asked. I was originally an orphan. I accidentally met my grandpa, after which I was taken in by him and named Oda Kumiko. He did instruct me on my cultivation, but I know very little about the 6-devil combination. All I know is that he would have this strange means, Oda Kumiko said. Qin Fan's brows furrowed as he heard this. He had wanted to search Oda Shingen's soul, only to be interrupted by Miriam's positron cannon, and Oda Shingen had been turned into ashes under this cannon. Not only did Oda Shingen turn into ashes, even those 6 heavenly demons were blown away by a single blast of smoke. Therefore, while sneak attacking him and interrupting his soul search, preventing him from obtaining extremely important information, Qin Fan was then moved to purge the East Asian Mi army. Finally, Qin Fan stood up and walked over to Oda Kumiko's body, pressing one hand on her head to start soul searching. You may go. Soon Qin Fan released his hand and said. It was indeed as Oda Kumiko had said. She did not know the origin of the heavenly demon. Oda Kumiko warily got up and left. Then the clue is broken. Qin Fan's brows furrowed slightly as he fell into thought. Master. Just as Qin Fan was pondering, suddenly Sasaki Saori hurried over.
What's wrong?
Qin Fan retrieved his thoughts and looked at Sasaki Saori and asked.
Master, rumor has it that monsters have appeared under Tokyo Bay. Sasaki Saori said. Monsters have appeared?
Qin Fan was slightly stunned at his words and his face was a bit puzzled. Speak more clearly. 3 days ago, Qin Fan had massacred the Milky Way's army on Tokyo Bay. His own liquid sword intent poured down like a torrential downpour, and all of it ended up merging into Tokyo Bay, so it could be said that all the living beings there were purged clean by him. So where did the monsters come from?
Mr. Qin, it's most likely true.
This time Lu Ziyan also came over and took out a tablet computer, handing it to Qin Fan. Qin Fan looked at the tablet, displaying a photo of Tokyo Bay, and in the photo, Qin Fan saw a huge black shadow underwater. This black shadow was huge and seemed to have multiple heads, while the body seemed to be somewhat snake-like.
Eh? Qin Fan's brows furrowed as he said in his heart, a demonic beast? And then, he looked at Lu Ziyan and asked, what's this photo about?
Some ships that entered Tokyo Bay suddenly disappeared, and then someone used a satellite to capture this photo, so there really might be monsters underneath Tokyo Bay.
Lu Ziyan said seriously.
Qin Fan thought about it and handed the tablet to Lu Ziyan and said, the news is not clear at the moment, so let's wait first, you guys pay more attention to it.
Qin Fan's first reaction was most likely a demonic beast in the sea. If it was a demonic beast, there would be demonic pills, and demonic pills could be used to refine cultivation pills. Only, the information was too little and Qin Fan did not know what level of demonic pills it was not very attractive to him, and he was too lazy to personally go under the water to see what was going on. So, it was better to wait until the time of need. Sasaki Saori and Lu Ziyan nodded at his words.
With that, the two of them retreated, while Qin Fan simply entered a state of cultivation. The night was shrouded in darkness. In Tokyo Bay, a woman wearing ninja clothes that outlined her shapely body, made a violent leap into the water.
The woman kept swimming towards the depths.
10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters, 300 meters, until she was over 1,000 meters underwater. 1,000 meters underwater, without any diving equipment, even a God-realm powerhouse would find it difficult to support. But this woman seemed to be unaffected by anything, moving freely over 1,000 meters underwater. Soon, she arrived in front of a huge underwater cave, and then entered the cave without any hesitation. After swimming about 1,000 meters in the cave, she kept floating upwards and then came to a cave that was lit with torches. She climbed up the bank and then ran forward at an extremely fast speed right to the bottom. At the bottom was a huge space that was pitch black, but there were 16 bright spots like lanterns in it, staring at the female ninja.
Master.
After this woman ran to the bottom, she immediately knelt down and said in an extremely respectful manner. As her words fell, a huge figure wriggled, sending out uncomfortable friction sounds, and then 8 huge snake heads poked out, the lantern like 16 snake eyes staring at the woman.
Any Japanese person here now would recognize this huge creature at first glance. The Japanese legend of the Yamatatsuki Orochi that brings calamity. Master, have you been discovered for showing up?
Kurohime did not raise her head to look at the Orochi, but asked warily, a being similar to me has invaded my territory and devoured all the precious medicines in my treasury. The Orochi Great Serpent let out a furious voice. Upon hearing this, Heiji jerked her head up, her face filled with disbelief. Master, are you saying that a powerful being similar to you has appeared under Tokyo Bay?
Not bad.
Orochi let out a low voice. If I hadn't just gotten rid of the seal, would I have been bullied by that damn thing to the point that the precious medicines that were left in the sea treasury back then were taken away? Heiji was filled with shock as she listened. The legendary calamity demon beast of the Japanese kingdom was actually bullied and had food taken from its mouth. So, I left this place, wanting to find out just who it was that dared to be so bold as to even eat my things. Anger rose in the heart of the 8-giant serpent before being sealed. He had collected a large amount of heavenly treasures and hidden them under Tokyo Bay, in an extremely hidden treasure trove. This time, when the seal was broken, it needed to devour these heavenly materials and treasures to recover. As a result, how do you know that the moment you go to the hiding place, you find that everything has been looted, and then it just watched the thief run away? This really made the once mighty Yaki Orochi very suffocating. Chapter 368, Hunting Qin Xian. Hearing the words of the 8 gigantic serpent, Heiji's complexion shifted as she asked, Master, what is the living being you are talking about? Strengths that are the same as yours? Upon hearing this, the 8 gigantic serpent fell into silence. From the aura it had gotten from the capture, it felt the aura of a dragon type. Only, it simply couldn't believe how there could still be a dragon race existing in this world. The dragon race had disappeared without a trace in this world an unknown number of years ago. Moreover, what made it even more unbelievable was that the titular dragon race had even fled in fear at the sight of it. It's not as strong as me, even if I only have 50% of my original strength now, I can still defeat it, it's just that, the other party's speed is very fast, I can't catch up. The 8 gigantic serpent said with a touch of anger. Master, that Qin Xian is currently still in the Japanese country, if you show up in your current state, I'm afraid that it will threaten you. Heiji said after hearing this. Of course, the Orochi understood, it had witnessed the great battle in the sea after it had broken out of the seal. As an ancient being that had lived for thousands of years, it had faced the stranglehold of countless strong men, but with its strong strength, all of these strong men had become its food. That Suzaku no man was no match for it even if it was paired with the 3 divine artifacts only. He was caught in the trap of the man of Suzaku, and finally lost, only to be sealed by the man of Suzaku in the sea abyss. It can be said that it faces these cultivators of human beings, it is the existence of immortality, want to kill it is almost impossible, the only way to seal it. And in the middle of the sea abyss, it witnessed Qin Xian. That was the first time it made it fearful of human cultivators. If it didn't regain its full strength, it was absolutely impossible to beat Qin Xian's opponent. Therefore, it did not even think of showing up so soon. Naturally, it wanted Qin Xian to leave before showing up to fetch the treasures within its own treasury to help it recover. As long as it recovered, it would have no need to fear. It was just that at the time of that battle, the liquid sword intent that fell from the sky penetrated into the sea, and its hidden treasure vault was affected to the extent that it was exposed, so it had to show up early to go there, and as soon as it passed, it encountered a green-colored fellow. And this fellow was very nonchalant, and swept away all the various heavenly materials and treasures it had collected, and even the highly poisonous medicinal herbs weren't left to be eaten up. After eating it all, it then ran away, while it was chasing it all the way, and finally took off from the sea in front of it and ran away. This made it suffocate. It was bullying it for not being able to fly. It was a living being close to the legend realm level, but not being able to fly because of its innate nature was really a great irony to it. Master, if you need anything, I'll bring it to you, don't ever show yourself again. Seeing that Orochi was silent and didn't respond, Heiji finally said, this doesn't need to be said by you, just let me keep hiding here, I'm bound to not be able to endure it. Hearing Blackheim's words, the Orochi let out a low voice. It was my subordinate who spoke too much. Kuroheim lowered her head. Wanting me to recover my full strength as soon as possible, offering 99 purine virgins, it's just that right now in this environment of heaven and earth, this kind of purine virgins is almost impossible to appear anymore, and now that my precious medicine has been stolen, The Orochi spoke, only when he was halfway through speaking, a voice faint yet enchanting voice came, you can only turn to us for help. This voice came, Black G face changed fiercely turned toward the direction of the sound came to look quickly from the dark place out of an extremely enchanting figure of a woman. Only to see this woman a revealing clothes, behind the back has a pair of pitch black demon wings, and her appearance is even more beautiful. Who are you? Heiji stared at the visitor with a nervous expression, how did you know about this place? It's not hard to track you down, Yagami Yukiheim. This woman with demonic wings on her back said indifferently. Yukiheim's face changed abruptly when she heard that name and asked, how do you know my real name? Who exactly are you? Abyssal Demoness, Sally. Sally said. Hell's third demon god Vashik, Abyssal Demoness, Sally. Yagami Yukiheim's face changed. Now that you know, why don't you kneel down? Sally said to Yagami Yukiheim with a cold face. As Sally's words fell, Yagami Yukiheim's petite body immediately trembled before she bent her feet and knelt down, gritting her teeth and saying, greetings, queen. Sally then walked in front of Yagami Yukiheim, reached out and slowly lifted Yagami Yukiheim's face, then reached out and wiped at her face in an instant. A piece of the human skin mask was torn off of Yukiheim's face, instantly revealing the face of a beautiful country. As expected of a half-demon who inherited the bloodline of our Abyssal Demoness, this face, the more I look at it, the more I really like it. Sally touched Yagami Yukiheim's overwhelming face with one hand, filled with favor. Yagami Yukiheim looked at Sally with a hint of anger in her eyes. You seem to be very dissatisfied with me, is it because I didn't step in to save the Yagami family back then? Sally asked as she touched Yagami Yukiheim's face. Yagami Yukiheim fell silent at her words. If it weren't for the fact that you have half of the abyssal demonist's bloodline in you, I would have wrung your neck long ago with your current attitude, Sally said coldly as she pinched Yagami Yukiheim's chin. When Yagami Yukiheim heard this, the corners of her mouth trembled slightly, but in the end, she didn't open it and said. Sally ignored the Yagami Yukiheim and instead looked at the Yagami Orochi and said expressionlessly, Ferrucci, an oracle has been sent from the Hall of Gods, allowing you to return to the Hall of Gods. 8 snake heads and 16 snake eyes looked at Sally, and then its huge body continuously emitted a pitch-black aura, and then the huge body was seen continuously shrinking, and then a man with a stout figure, wearing snakeskin armor, with a hideous face, carrying a pitch-black scythe on his back was seen. Conditions? Yuan Luji asked coldly. Hunt Qin Qingxian, Sally said in a cold voice. Xin Fan was naturally unaware of what was happening under Tokyo Bay, and at the moment, he was looking at the satellite photo that Lu Ziyan had handed over. Seeing this photo, Xin Fan said with a face full of astonishment, could this be Xiao Qing? The corners of Lu Ziyan's mouth also twitched slightly before she said, it's probably little Qing. Lu Ziyan was naturally concerned about the monster because of Xin Fan's order. Then, the intelligence department on the Japanese side sent in this photo taken by the satellite. On this photo, it was little Qing coiling its huge body and seemed to be dozing off. Lu Ziyan had heard about little Qing from Yushan, and after getting this photo, the first thing she thought when she took a look at it was whether or not this thing could be the missing little Qing that Yushan was talking about. Where is this little Qing? Xin Fan asked. On an uninhabited island in the north, the coordinates are here. Lu Ziyan said. With that, she sent the coordinates of the island where little Qing was to Xin Fan. I'll go and return. Xin Fan said, then with a flash of his body, he disappeared into thin air. Chapter 369, Shrinking. Xin Fan followed the coordinates and flew above the sea at an extremely fast speed, and in just over 10 minutes, he arrived in the middle of an uninhabited island. This uninhabited island was small in size, and because it was located in the north, it was full of ice and snow. And in the midst of this ice and snow, Xin Fan saw a large green-colored snake or dragon, coiled up and slumbering there. It's really little green, why did it come here? Xin Fan walked over to little Qing's side and was a bit puzzled. Little Chang was far away from Tianjin City, but as a result, it had traveled a long way to come over here to sleep. Wake up! Xin Fan went up and kicked at little Qing, then shouted. Only, little Chang didn't react at all and remained asleep. Seeing this scene, Xin Fan frowned and carefully observed little Qing. This is already a jiao, just what's going on with this back? How could there be wings on the back of an augur? After observing Little Green, Xin Fan realized that after molting, Little Green's appearance had changed greatly from before. The head was now comparable to a jiao, so it could be said that Xiao Qing was now completing the first step of dragon transformation and had become a jiao. However, Xin Fan discovered a pair of wings had actually grown on Xiao Qing's back, but these wings were not big, probably only about a meter or so, and compared to Xiao Qing's huge body size, it was really too small to be small. This guy, sleeping here, what should we do? Move directly back to Tianjin City? Xin Fan looked at Xiao Qing, who couldn't be woken up, pondering. If the intelligence agencies on the Japanese side could capture this place via satellite, other countries and forces would surely discover it before long. This was a jiao, and it was bound to cause a stir right now. All Xin Fan could think of was to directly return to Tianjin City with this big guy. It can only be done. Xin Fan thought about it, and in the end, there was really no other way to prepare to move the Little Green. Only, the moment Xin Fan was ready to do it, little Qing's body suddenly shook. Waking up. Xin Fan said when he saw the movement, that will save me the trouble. At the moment Xin Fan spoke, Xiao Qing suddenly twisted a few times, then twisted faster and faster. Roar! Suddenly, little Qing's huge body violently stood up, then tilted up to the sky and let out a roar, and under this roar, the pair of feathered wings on his back unexpectedly grew larger at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, it grew from more than a meter long, to 7 or 8 meters long, and then continuously flapped, curling up a gust of wind. Alright, stop roaring, Little Green. Xin Fan said when he saw this appearance. However, little Qing didn't listen to Xin Fan's words at all, and still did what she wanted. Along with the roaring and the flapping of its feathers, a strong force was continuously released, and the island shook continuously, and the snow and ice also collapsed. Roar! Suddenly, Xiao Qing let out an earth-shattering roar, and then the huge augur dragon tail swept across, directly sweeping towards Xin Fan. Xin Fan reacted extremely quickly, dodging away in one step and instantly arrived in mid-air, looking down at little Qing. As for Xiao Cheng, he opened that pair of feathers, his body stood straight, that pair of dragon eyes red as blood stared at Qin Fan, continuously emitting the sound of dragon whistle, as if he did not recognize Qin Fan at all.
Did this stupid snake eat something and eat its brain?
Qin Fan looked at Xiao Cheng, who was mad at him with a black face. At the moment he spoke, Little Green's pair of feathered wings flapped violently, and its huge body directly catapulted up, and then opened that huge dragon's mouth, and ruthlessly tore towards Qin Fan. In this regard, Qin Fan was not accustomed to it, and raised his hand to draw up a big forced pocket.
Splat!
A thick sound came, Xiao Qing's head was viciously jerked, his eyes were starry, and he let out a roar of pain. At the same time, his whole body turned a few times in the void, and he ruthlessly slammed down onto the island.
The entire island then shook, and the ice and snow collapsed crazily.
Of course, Qin Fan must have withdrawn his strength this time. He didn't want to kill Xiao Cheng. Right now, Little Cheng is definitely in a frenzy, so it's just a matter of waking this stupid thing up. After the Little Green smashed down to the island, its huge body rolled over, constantly emitting the sound of dragon whistling, showing extreme anger, its eyes glaring at Qin Fan as if to say, "Damn human."
However, in the next second, the human disappeared. Its red eyes showed a brief moment of disoriented.
Because Qin Fan's speed was too fast, Xiao Cheng's strength had increased a lot more than before after completing its first evolution, but it was still too weak to face Qin Fan. Qin Fan appeared on Xiao Cheng's head at an extremely fast speed, grabbed Xiao Cheng's newly grown dragon horn with one hand, and with one hand stretched out, he threw a fierce punch at Xiao Cheng's head.
Bang!
A heavy hitting sound came. Little Green was dazed by this punch, and the power of this punch then penetrated into its head, making it dizzy.
Boom!
Finally, a booming sound came. Xiao Qing's huge body fell to the ground with a loud bang, a long tongue spat out, and its bloody mouth could not be closed, foaming at the mouth, and both of its eyes straightened. This was knocked out by Qin Fan's punch. Qin Fan jumped down from Xiao Qing's head and clasped his hands on his chest, his face full of depression. "Running out to mess around with food, you've lived these thousands of years for nothing." Qin Fan really felt that this snake was not only gluttonous, but also stupid, just a stupid snake. Only, when Qin Fan looked at Xiao Cheng, he suddenly remembered something and said, "I forgot, my current recovery avatar is able to detoxify these. You've been beaten up for nothing." Qin Fan, because from the 8-foot Xiong Hook Jade got the recovery system Dao Rhyme, let his recovery system divine ability has a great change, not only can recover from injuries, but also can antidote poison, dispel curses in these, of course. What level of poison and curses can be antidoted these Qin Fan is not very clear. "Let's heal this stupid snake of yours first,"
Qin Fan said without any good humor.
After saying that, he pressed one hand on Xiao Qing's head, then the white aura flashed and slowly penetrated into Xiao Qing's body. And with that, Xiao Qing's body slowly recovered, and then the huge dragon's eyes twitched a few times and slowly opened.
"Stupid snake, you've woken up and still can't recognize me?"
Qin Fan asked as he watched Little Green open its eyes. Little Green stared at Qin Fan, who was standing in front of it, and blinked its dragon eyes, seemingly a little confused. However, it seemed to gradually remember something, and then its huge eyes rolled, revealing a look of surprise, hindsight, and aggravation. All right, what's going on?" Qin Fan conversed with Little Cheng with his divine sense. When Little Cheng heard the words coming from Qin Fan, those dragon eyes narrowed and a green-colored light shone on its body. Then, Qin Fan saw Little Cheng shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally turned into a small snake or jiao that was only as thick as an arm, but this jiao was a bit strange, with a pair of small feathered wings growing on its back.
"Huh, shrunk?" Qin Fan was surprised to see the appearance of Little Green. Chapter 370, Aquamarine Dragonfish.
Qin Fan looked at Xiao Cheng, who had shrunk to only the size of an arm. He was really surprised. This evolution had made Xiao Cheng should have mastered some divine abilities or spells. After shrinking, Little Cheng immediately flew to Qin Fan's side, sticking out its tongue and licking at Qin Fan's face in a very intimate manner. Qin Fan couldn't help but smile when he looked at Xiao Cheng's appearance. This was pleasing and pampering. He also knew that this stupid snake was considered to be completely awake, and his own recovery department's divine ability could really lift some rare and strange states. Okay, don't lick it. What's wrong with you? You even dare to attack me. If it's not for the fact that you're my pet, I'm sure I'll skin you," Qin Fan said with a smile. When Little Cheng heard this, that tiny body trembled, flapped the feathered wings on its back a few times, and shrunk its head, looking scared.
"Getting down to business, what's going on? Why did you come here and then how did you suddenly go crazy?"
Qin Fan asked once again. Little Green seemed to understand Qin Fan's words more because of its evolution. Only to see it fly up, its body once again becoming bigger, then it made a dragon roar sound at Qin Fan, signaling him to come up. Qin Fan then jumped onto Xiao Qing's back with a leap, and then Xiao Cheng flapped its wings and rose up into the air, flying in one direction. After Qin Fan sat on Xiao Cheng's head, a voice that sounded like a baby learning to speak echoed in his soul. Qin Fan's face was surprised when he heard this voice. It was little Qing talking to him. Although it was said that what little Qing was saying was not clear yet, Qin Fan was still able to understand the meaning of the words. It was that after Xiao Qing digested those God Realm powerhouses, she completed her evolution and realized that she could shrink, so she was very excited and wanted to go find Qin Fan. As a result, it realized that Qin Fan was long gone, and then it searched for him all the way according to its perception of Qin Fan's scent because Qin Fan warned it not to be found, and then all the way to shrink the form, all the way to search for Qin Fan's breath, and then looking for came to the Japanese country. After coming to the Japanese country, originally it immediately wanted to go to find Qin Fan, but then in the sea, it smelled a lot of the smell of the spiritual medicine that it had once eaten, and then it went along to look for it. Then you encountered the 8-headed serpent. That guy looked too powerful. You rushed to eat everything into your stomach and then ran away, and then you were chased all the way. Qin Fan listened to the information coming from Little Chang and gave a whole speechless. Little Chang heard it and let out an aggrieved sound. It wasn't just eating something, there was a need to chase it so much. After that, it was Little Chang that flew into the air. Luckily that 8-headed snake couldn't fly, and then it ran away however, because it ate too many things, among which there were quite a few highly poisonous things. In the end, it flew halfway to the sea when it couldn't hold on. What did you encounter in the sea? Hearing this, Qin Fan probably guessed that this stupid snake reckoned that it must have encountered something powerful in the sea. Little Green then let out a few sounds before its body violently swooped down towards the lower sea surface. Qin Fan reacted quickly and immediately executed the water avoidance skill and entered the sea along with Little Chang. In the middle of the sea, Xiao Chang brought Qin Fan downward continuously. The surroundings became darker and darker, and a heavy water pressure pressed in with it. However, with Qin Fan's strength in the late Yuaning stage, naturally there will not be any effect, and because of the divine sense around still see clearly as for Xiao Chang, naturally there was no problem. I don't know how many meters down, Little Green suddenly stopped, then the dragon eyes flashed, seemingly on guard for something. You're here again. Suddenly, a mental fluctuation came, a warning message which was filled with killing intent. Then, a huge figure slowly approached from a distance. Qin Fan's divine sense swept over the figure that came over and revealed a look of surprise. A huge fish that came over was not at all inferior in size to Xiao Chang, while its head was surprisingly in the likeness of a Jiao dragon, and the scales on its body similarly shone with the unique light of the dragon race. Behind dragon fish. Qin Fan was shocked and delighted after seeing it clearly. The aqua sea dragon fish, an exotic creature that contained the bloodline of the dragon race, was extremely rare within the Qingxian starfield. It was the king of the sea, and was a treasure all over. The most direct, ordinary people ate the blue sea dragon fish meat, can prolong life for 100 years, and even with some medicinal herbs can make the youth forever. As for the cultivator, that really is all over the body is the cultivation of the treasure, such as cohesion of the demon Dan, can also be said to be the dragon Dan, for the cultivation of that really is a big compliment. And Qin Fan probably understood why Xiao Chang would come here and then would also go crazy. It must be because he fought with this dragonfish. And Little Chang must have been attracted by the dragon bloodline on the dragonfish. Only, Xiao Chang couldn't beat it. Not only could she not beat it, but she was also hit by the dragonfish's unique toxin attack. Dragonfish strength is very strong. Adult dragonfish are at least the strength of the first baby stage. Those who are mighty 4 seas, that is bound to be the stage of the god of transformation. Dragonfish attack is very much wind, fire, thunder, water, poison that are usual means of attack, as well as its powerful physical body. The same realm of cultivators simply will not be the opponent of the dragonfish. Moreover, must be in the sea with the dragonfish a battle. That is my territory, I make the master. Therefore, no one dared to hunt the dragonfish unless their strength far exceeded it. However, in order to cultivate, Qin Fan had once hunted and killed a half-adult Jindan stage dragonfish when he was a Jindan great perfection. It was after killing this dragonfish and then absorbing and refining this dragonfish that he broke through the Yuaning realm and condensed the topmost immortal infant. Moreover, this blue sea dragonfish in front of him, caught in the environment of Earth, only had the strength of a Jindan stage great perfection, but its body size was much larger than the blue sea dragonfish he had once killed. This was an adult Behi dragonfish. The strength of this Behi dragonfish, once it was born, would be almost invincible across the earth. Qin Fan looked at this adult blue sea dragonfish and licked his lips, his eyes glowing. This time, he had come to the right place to find Little Qing. You called for help and it's still useless. I won't let you escape this time. The blue sea dragonfish noticed Little Qing's back and let out a low mental fluctuation. Instantly, the top of the huge body shone with nothing but blue electric light. A streak of electric light was like an electric dragon jumping in the seawater, tearing the seawater as the terrifying energy immediately spread and rushed towards Qin Fan and Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing immediately showed a look of horror. The other party was merciful last time. However, this time, it had its master and was not afraid. So, it let out a dragon whistle to give itself courage. This strength is indeed strong. The Jiedan stage Great Circle can be comparable to the early Yuaning stage. It's a pity that it met me. Qin Fan did not have a trace of fear. He had killed it once, and that was when he was at the Jiedan Great Circle. Now that he was in the late Yuaning stage, killing would only be easier. Qin Fan's body moved and met the thunder, allowing it to strike his body. A burst of pain came from him, but it did not harm him in any way. In an instant, Qin Fan passed through the thunder and appeared above the head of the blue sea dragonfish. The royal heavenly sword appeared in his hand and stabbed out with a swift and thunderous momentum. The Beehai dragonfish didn't even have time to react before he was stabbed in the vitals with the sword, killing him on the spot. Chapter 371, Traveling to the Western Capital. Roar! The blue sea dragonfish let out a mournful scream, the pair of dragon eyes glaring at Qin Fan, probably not understanding that as a party overlord, it had died just like that until its death. Qin Fan, on the other hand, quickly took out the supreme treasure bottle and immediately put the huge blue sea dragonfish into the bottle. The space of the supreme treasure bottle was very large, and now it was also refined into an artifact spirit, which was well preserved inside. All right. After Qin Fan was done, he turned to little Chang and said. Xiaoqing's pair of dragon eyes blinked, a little confused. How did it end? It hadn't even shouted for cheers before the master killed that big guy. This was also too fast. Stupid snake, let's go back and give you the blood of the aqua sea dragonfish. You'll be able to evolve again then. Qin Fan returned to Little Green's back and spoke. Little Green then roared twice. It just wanted to eat the dragonfish. Soon, Little Green brought Qin Fan out of the sea and then headed straight to Tokyo. On the way, Qin Fan was in a great mood. With this jade dragon of the blue sea in his hands, his cultivation level could definitely be raised. However, even if he reached the great circle of the Yuaning realm, Qin Fan would not be able to break through to the God of Transformation, as his current perception of the God of Transformation's heavenly will was still a bit short. Of course, what was more important was that Qin Fan was going to go for the 10,000 Tribulation Transformation God. But his understanding of the 10,000 Tribulation Transformation God was really too little, so how to 10,000 Tribulation Transformation God was still unclear to him, and he still needed to feel his way around. After arriving in the sky above Tokyo, he sought out a safe place and had Little Green shrink and coil on his shoulder before going to the imperial residence. This little snake, it's little Qing, so cute. When Lu Ziyan saw Qin Fan return, she was immediately attracted to the Little Green on Qin Fan's shoulder. After Xiaoqing shrunk, it stood out as cute, and Lu Ziyan, the big CEO, couldn't stop it. Yes, it's little Qing, but don't be fooled by its cute appearance. Qin Fan explained to Lu Ziyan. Lu Ziyan covered her mouth full of incredulity when she heard that Little Green could grow to over 50 meters. However, she immediately remembered that Little Green had once eaten a God Realm powerhouse. Sure enough, one couldn't be fooled by appearances. By the way, did anything happen during the time I was away? Qin Fan asked as he changed the topic. When Lu Ziyan heard Qin Fan's words, her eyebrows frowned and she seemed to be somewhat hesitant. What's wrong? Feel free to say. Qin Fan saw that something was definitely wrong, so he asked after her. It's the matter of Chao Qingwan. Lu Ziyan said. Chao Qingwan? Qin Fan frowned at the words. What happened to him? Chao Qingwan was the bodyguard he arranged for Lu Ziyan and gave him the method to enter the God Realm. As for whether he had entered the God Realm or not, now Qin Fan did not know yet. Elder Chao went to pay tribute to his relatives and suddenly couldn't be contacted. Lu Ziyan said. Went to pay tribute to his relatives? Qin Fan asked with a strange look on his face. Lu Ziyan sniffed and thought for a moment, then said, I previously arranged a new identity for Chao Lao in accordance with Mr. Qin's request, and with this new identity plus the change in his appearance that you, Mr. Qin, made him, he can return to the Summer Kingdom without any worries. After this Japanese country, I still have to head to Shidu to talk about business cooperation, so Chao Lao said that he would first go to Shidu to pay homage to his own family, and then we'll rendezvous at that time. It's just that I contacted him a few times but suddenly couldn't get in touch, so I was wondering if something might have happened to old Chao. Lu Ziyan told Qin Fan about Chao Qingwan. After hearing this, Qin Fan asked, if I remember correctly, Chao Qingwan's enemies are in the northwest, right?
Yes, the Feng family of Shidu. Lu Ziyan said. Buy a plane ticket to Shidu. Xin Fan said as he listened. When Lu Ziyan heard this, her eyes lit up and she quickly said, Mr. Xin, are you preparing to go to Shidu with me? Xin Fan nodded his head and said, I've been letting you guys work for me, so I should naturally take care of your worries as well. Good, I'll go get ready now. Lu Ziyan said happily. After saying that, she happily prepared for the trip to the northwestern part of Xia. Xin Fan, on the other hand, took this time to release the corpse of the Beihai dragonfish in the open space within the imperial residence. Xiao Qing's mouth watered when she saw the huge corpse of the Beihai dragonfish. You gluttonous snake, no, you gluttonous dragon. Xin Fan couldn't help but laugh and curse as he looked at little Chang. After saying that, he immediately exerted his divine ability and began to deal with this aqua sea dragon fish. Since he had handled it once before, he was able to handle it with ease. Xin Fan then made a separation of all the bones, blood, meat and also the internal organs of the Beihai dragonfish, and the blood and internal organs were directly thrown to Xiao Qing. The blue sea dragonfish was full of treasures, but it was not desirable to consume it directly, especially the internal organs, which were poisonous, but there was nothing that Xiao Qing couldn't eat. Therefore, those blood and internal organs were placed in front of Xiao Qing. It instantly went crazy. Originally it was a small body gnawing there, but realized that it was too slow, so it became a bigger body and wolfed it down there. But in more than 10 minutes, it was swept away, and then looked pitifully at the dragonfish meat that Xin Fan had processed. Xin Fan casually cut a piece and threw it to Little Green. Little Chang swallowed it in one bite, then made a sound, her saliva still flowing. That's enough for you to digest just now, you'll have to sleep later, right? Xin Fan glanced at Little Chang. As soon as Little Chang heard this, his body then slowly shrunk, and then he started to snort, and then it was really like those that Xin Fan had said, he directly fell asleep just now. Xin Fan said when he saw this scene. Then he ignored Xiao Chang and first put all the fish meat and fish bones into the supreme treasure bottle. Fish meat was a great tonic, and whether it was cooked directly or paired with herbs to make a medicinal meal, it was extremely beneficial to cultivation. Giving it to Lin Qingyan and the others was bound to prolong life and eternal youth. And the bones can be refined. The most treasured part of the whole dragonfish was the demonic dan that Xin Fan held in his hand. This demonic dan was only the size of a palm, like a full moon, emitting a ghostly white light that illuminated the surrounding space. The demonic dan, which was condensed from the cultivation of the blue sea dragonfish, was the best thing for cultivators to cultivate. Refining it with empty hands is bound to not work, it needs an alchemy furnace. Xin Fan held this full moon like dragon dan and calculated in his mind. His own alchemy was extremely outstanding, and he could refine those basic pills with his empty hands, but this dragon dan was so treasured that it was obviously impossible to refine it with his bare hands, and it would require a furnace, and also the corresponding heaven and earth spirit medicines, to refine it into the Yuan quality Beihai green dragon dan. It's just that this medicinal material and the dan furnace are not easy to find. Xin Fan sighed and put the dragon dan into the supreme treasure bottle. After getting things done, Lu Ziyan had also made arrangements to travel to the western capital of the Xia kingdom. Xin Fan instructed Sasaki Saori about a few things, and after that, he and Lu Ziyan boarded a plane and flew directly to the western capital of the Summer Kingdom. Chapter 372. Buy it. Xia Kingdom, Shidu International Airport. Lu Ziyan, dressed as a beauty and wearing a large sunglasses, held Xin Fan's arm with one hand as she walked down from the airplane. You seem to be enjoying yourself quite a bit? Xin Fan, dressed in casual men's clothing, asked Lu Ziyan. Lu Ziyan smiled sweetly at his words. Of course I'm happy to be able to accompany you. Xin Fan guffawed and changed the topic. Any news from Chao Qingguan's side? No, still can't get in touch, and I can't investigate the Chao family's graveyard. Lu Ziyan responded. Then we can only inquire about news in Shidu first, especially on the Feng family's side. Xin Fan said. Xin Fan thought about whether Chao Qingguan had stepped into the God realm and went directly to seek revenge on the Feng family and met with an accident. However, Lu Ziyan felt that it was not possible because after getting along with Chao Qingguan was cautious and he usually would not do anything that he was not sure of. Moreover, Chao Qingguan had said that after he escaped, the only thing he missed was facing Xin Fan. Because of that, he had to go for a fight once, or else there would be no chance of revenge. Now, he had Xin Fan to help him, and time was on his side, so he would not rashly go to the Feng family to take revenge. Moreover, the Feng family's strength was not weak at all. Lu Ziyan had investigated. Behind the Feng family stood the Yi family, which was one of the 5 great families of the Summer Kingdom.
Therefore, Lu Ziyan absolutely Chao One could not go to the door to take revenge rashly.
There just happens to be a banquet at night. At the banquet we can try to pry for information, Lu Ziyan said to Qin Fan. Qin Fan nodded. It can only be so.
Shidu was the largest city in the northwestern part of the Xia kingdom, and was considered the core city of the northwest, and even if Qin Fan released his divine sense to the maximum, it could only cover half of the city at the most, and trying to find Chao One was not easy. As night fell, traffic flowed in front of a hotel named Juntian Hotel in Shidu. A luxury car and a beautiful woman attracted the eyes of many passers-by. Among these luxury cars, a white Bentley drove in and caught the attention of some people. Of course, it wasn't the Bentley that they paid attention to, but the owner of this car.
Here she comes, Miss Lu from the Lu clan group from Roundabout is here.
Rumor has it that Lu Ziyan is both talented and beautiful. Today I can sort of get a glimpse of the real thing. The powerful and wealthy people at tonight's banquet all had their gazes condensed and sighed with emotion. Lu's group, which was flourishing in the island city, was actively expanding its business to the interior of Xia. Shidu belongs to the core city of the largest metropolis in the northwest of Xia, but there is still some gap compared to Round Island City, so these powerful tycoons in Shidu have to be courteous when they see the helmsman of Lu's group. More importantly, they all know that the helmsman of Lu's group is still single, so in the eyes of these tycoons, Lu Ziyan is an infinite treasure. This time, Lu Ziyan was invited to Shidu to discuss cooperation, which was naturally an opportunity for these young talents in Shidu to perform. If they could get Lu Ziyan's heart, it would mean that they could get such a huge thing as the Lu group. After the Bentley was parked, Lu Ziyan appeared in a carefully selected evening gown, shining brightly, while beside her was Qin Fan, who was dressed in a suit and had a handsome appearance. After the two of them stepped out, it gave people a feeling that they were a good match for each other. As soon as they stepped out of the car, someone came forward to greet them.
Miss Lu, welcome, welcome, welcome.
A middle-aged man came forward to greet her with a smile on his face. Lu Ziyan, on the other hand, returned the greeting very politely and then quietly said to Qin Fan, "This is the biggest bank in Shidu, the president of Shijing Bank." Similarly, all those other powerful and wealthy people who saw Lu Ziyan greeted her politely. Lu Ziyan had attended many of these banquets, and she was basically the center of attention every time she appeared, so she coped with them with ease. Qin Fan naturally did not have much interest in dealing with these so-called rich and powerful people. If compared to the status, he is a general within the summer country. Compared to Lu Ziyan is only higher. If someone knows his true identity, I am afraid to come over to flatter more. Therefore, Qin Fan silently accompanied Lu Ziyan, did not say a word. Lu Ziyan naturally also saw that Qin Fan didn't have a single interest in the banquet, and couldn't stop shaking her head as she whispered to Qin Fan, it seems like a mistake for me to let you accompany me to this banquet. It's fine, it's kind of a nice experience. Qin Fan smiled and responded. Previously, in the Japanese country, there had been fighting and killing, making him feel all detached from his path of transforming into a mortal, refining his heart in the red dust, and sensing the heavenly Tao of transformation. Now, on the other hand, it felt like he had returned to the mortal world, becoming mortal once again. Lu Ziyan looked at Qin Fan. She wanted to understand Qin Fan more deeply. For example, she proposed that she wanted to call out Qin Fan's name, and Qin Fan accepted, which made her feel that Qin Fan was not difficult to get along with. However, she and Qin Fan had spent many days together in Japan, but she still could not understand the real Qin Fan. If she was unable to understand Qin Fan, she could only look up to this Qin Xingxian, and she would not be able to truly stand by Qin Fan's side. Lu Ziyan looked at the calm Qin Fan and said, "Let's go eat something." "Aha." Qin Fan responded. The two of them found a place to sit down and consume the exquisite food. "Ziyan, it's really you." Suddenly, a surprise incomparable voice came, making Lu Ziyan, who was eating the food, stop the knife and fork in her hand and look at the person who shouted at her. Her face slightly frowned with her diaphanous eyebrows, appearing a little displeased, and said, "Mr. Li, please also pay attention to your words. The name Ziyan is not suitable for you." Lu Ziyan tone is very cold. Through the boredom, give a person a kind of refusal outside the 1,000 li, instantly let this Li Gongzi, color stunned. "Ziyan, we are at least classmates. Why do you need to be like this when I address you like this?" This Duke Li said with a smiling face. "Duke Li, although we both graduated from a business school, we really aren't familiar." Lu Ziyan glanced at Qin Fan on the opposite side and her tone turned colder. And these words instantly made this Duke Li feel like he had been slapped in the face, causing him to instantly look a little ugly. However, this Duke Li quickly recovered and said with a faint smile, "Ziyan, I am at least a third-generation descendant of the new country Li family. Can't you give me some face? This time, this Mr. Li didn't say that he was Lu Ziyan's classmate, but reported a higher identity, the third generation of the Li family in the new country. The new country of the South China Sea above a small economically developed country, the Li family in the new country that is the emperor's family, this Li Gongzi belongs to the third generation, not directly in power, but the hands of the assets held at least 10 billion otherwise, he was not qualified to be invited to this business cooperation in Xijing. If it was before, Lu Ziyan would definitely respond courteously to this Mr. Li, but it was a pity that she had met Qin Fan. In this world, other than Qin Fan, I'm afraid that no one could enter her eyes anymore. Moreover, now that Qin Fan was right in front of her eyes, as a result, this Duke Li came over and disturbed her and Qin Fan alone, making her appear even more displeased. Please leave and don't disturb me. Lu Ziyan didn't want to talk nonsense with this Duke Li and spoke out to drive him away. Good. Duke Li responded with a smile still on his face. After saying that, he immediately turned around and left. Only the moment he turned around, his smile instantly disappeared and his face was suddenly as gloomy as water with anger in his eyes. His name is Li Yanwei, he is a person from the Li family of the new country, a classmate who graduated from the same business school as me, and this time he was invited to Shidu. Just like me, Lu Ziyan saw Li Yanwei leave and sighed in relief, explaining to Qin Fan. There's no need to explain this to me. Qin Fan's expression was as calm as water. This made Lu Ziyan a little lost. Indeed, there was no need to explain, she had not entered Qin Fan's heart at all. This gentleman, can you show your invitation? Suddenly a manager dressed in a manager walked up to Qin Fan and asked politely. Before Qin Fan could utter a word, Lu Ziyan's willow eyebrows inverted as she stared at this manager and said, "He is my friend." This manager revealed a bitter smile and said, "Miss, I'm sorry to disturb the two of you, it's just that because of the high specifications of this banquet, the organizer has given a dead order that those who are not on the invitation list cannot enter, and just now a gentleman complained that this gentleman is not on the invitation list, so I've come here to verify it. This is also my job duty, after all, it's a complaint, I have to deal with it, otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be sacked tomorrow." This manager showed a difficult face. This banquet had extremely high specifications. Not only did it come from the powerful tycoons of Shidu, there were also quite a few international big companies' rich and powerful sons. He couldn't afford to offend any of them. Therefore, he could only do his job and verify the information. As soon as Lu Ziyan heard it, she knew for sure that Li Yanwei had made a small move, and it was true that she did not prepare an invitation to Qin Fan for this banquet, because she also could not imagine that Qin Fan would be willing to accompany her to Shidu. You said you can't come without an invitation? Qin Fan looked at this manager and asked. This gentleman, indeed, this is the rule, really don't make it difficult for me, I'm just a part-time worker. This manager said bitterly. If it's the owner of this hotel, is an invitation also required? Qin Fan leaned in with his gaze faintly looking at this manager. Sir is joking, if it's our boss, naturally, we don't need an invitation. This manager was stunned and said in a hurry. Once Qin Fan heard this, he looked at Lu Ziyan and said with a smile, by this hotel. When Lu Ziyan heard this, her mouth slightly opened and her face was filled with shock. Chapter 373, His True Identity. By the hotel? Lu Ziyan looked at Qin Fan in shock. On the other hand, that manager's eyes were staring straight, with only shock on his face. The Jun Tian Hotel was a famous five-star hotel in Shidu. Wanting to acquire it would inevitably involve the acquisition of the capital behind it, and as he understood it, the market value had exceeded $2 billion. This manager looked at Qin Fan, who was only in his 20s, and could not see any particularly large background or wealth. Even if the lady in front of him is a guest tonight, it is impossible to buy this five-star hotel directly because of an invitation. This was $2 billion, how much backbone did this require? After Lu Ziyan froze for a moment, she immediately reacted, then took out her cell phone and called out. After connecting, she said without hesitation, Helena, I'm currently at the Jun Tian Hotel in the western capital of the Summer Kingdom, Mr. Qin wants to buy this hotel. That's right, the price is estimated to be around $2.5 billion, go and do it as soon as possible. Lu Ziyan's words were very plain, but carried an air of superiority, completely giving orders, not allowing anyone to argue at all. After saying that, she hung up the phone and smiled at this lobbies. I've already asked my assistant Helena to do it. This Mr. Qin will soon be the boss of your Jun Tian Hotel. Do you want him to provide an invitation now? Cold sweat was pouring from this manager's forehead. He knew very well that the choice he was now facing would be one that would affect the rest of his life. The choice was to believe that this man and woman had spent a huge sum of $2.5 billion or even more to buy this five-star hotel just because of an invitation letter. The second choice was to choose not to believe, and still carry out his duties, according to the rules to invite this young man out. This choice was very reasonable. After all, even the richest man in Xia, I'm afraid he won't spend $2.5 billion to buy a 5-star hotel just because of an invitation. Lu Ziyan looked at this nervous and incomparable manager, and smiled sweetly. You don't have to be too embarrassed. You're only performing your duties this time because of the complaints you've received. I won't blame you. As for the acquisition, you can wait here. I think your boss will come over in person very soon. This manager heard this. It was really like a man's back. He didn't even know how to reply back anymore, nor did he know what to do. He could only stand there dumbfounded. As for Xin Fan, naturally did not have any mood swings. With his current assets, spending $250 million might be about the same as an ordinary person spending $0.25. While in the middle of the banquet, Li Yanwei was faintly watching Lu Ziyan's side. An invitation, it is not difficult at all. Lu Ziyan, he is just trying to find out what it takes to go out, and more importantly, he wants to see Lu Ziyan's connections in the summer country. In the western capital, he is a disciple of the Li family in the new country, behind the equivalent of the top of the new country's power, and Lu Ziyan is the helmsman of the Lu group on the island. Can only be considered the top of the businessman's people, just really to say that the background, really not as good as he, the political and economic pull full of the Li family's third-generation children and grandchildren. After all, this is to involve the relationship between the countries. The political and economic sectors on the summer side of the country will absolutely know how to choose. As for the man traveling with Lu Ziyan, he had never cared about it at all. Just as Li Yanwei was waiting to watch the show, a middle-aged man in a suit hurriedly appeared at the venue with a group of people. Seeing this middle-aged man in a suit, Li Yanwei's face changed slightly. This middle-aged man was the chairman of the Jun Tian Hotel Chain Group, Fang Zhengye. Besides mastering the Jun Tian Hotel Chain Group, he also had quite a lot of commercial real estate in his hands, and was a businessman with $30 billion of assets in his hands. And for this business exchange meeting, he was one of the main leaders. So in the face of Fang Zhengye, Li Yanwei, the third-generation descendant of the Li family, must also be respectful. After all, this is the western capital of the Summer Kingdom. Fang Zhengye, that is a real snake in the ground, a real big shot. Only, the big shot that he must even respect. Fang Zhengye walked to the front of Xin Fan and Lu Ziyan, and immediately plopped down on his knees. Fang Zhengye, who was in his 50s, his face was pale without his body trembling slightly, his face even carried fear, and he let out a trembling voice, Fang Zhengye, see, Mr. Qin, if there are disrespectful things, I hope Mr. Qin forgive. In an instant, the entire venue was silent. Everyone looked at Fang Zhengye in shock. Only, Fang Zhengye knelt in front of bean-sized beads of sweat fell from his forehead. Many people did not understand why such a character as Fang Zhengye would kneel down. Li Yanwei, on the other hand, his entire body was stunned, viciously pinched his thighs, confirming that this was not a dream. His heart was only horrified. How could it be? Lu Ziyan's status was indeed high, but it was also impossible to make a big shot in Shidu kneel down. Even if his grandfather was to be replaced, that is, the current president of the new country came over, it would not be possible to make Fang Zhengye kneel on the ground. Countless doubts filled the hearts of Li Yanwei, as well as everyone else present. What's going on? Why is Chairman Fang doing this? There was a high-powered Shidu bigwig who was also filled with disbelief. How Fang Zhengye is also considered to be the head of the hotel industry in Shidu, after living for so many years. It's not like Fang Zhengye has not seen all kinds of adults, but it's really the first time he has seen Fang Zhengye come over and directly kneel down. Different from the crowd's doubts, Fang Zhengye has only fear in his heart, because he knows that the man who traveled with Lu Ziyan is extraordinary. He received a call from Roundabout in his office, and when the other party said something about acquiring Jun Tian Hotel, he still scoffed. The other party mentioned a few words, who is Mr. Qin, toward the recent big things to think clearly in the decision. With Fang Zhengye's shrewdness, in an instant he figured it out. Mr. Qin in the other party's mouth is the real Qin of the island city. The reason Fang Zhengye was able to become the leader of this business meeting and invite those businessmen from Round Island City in the new country was because he had hotel businesses in both Round Island and the new country, especially in Round Island City where he had 2 other hotels. It was also because of this that he had heard of Real Qin's exploits in the Ring Island, and because of this, he had paid attention to Real Qin and wanted to climb into a relationship with him. Because of this, he utilized his financial power and network of connections to spare no effort in inquiring about Real Qin's identity. And this had really allowed him to find out some information for him through his friends amongst the Summer Kingdom's military department. Then what the other party said in the end made him think about it in the context of the big things that had happened during this period of time.
In an instant, he immediately understood this Mr.
Sheen was the person who had pushed across the Burmese nation, killed several God Realm powerhouses in a row, and then caused the Japanese nation to change its day and made the world's #1 powerhouse, the Rice Nation, bow down. In this way, this person's identity came to light. This Mr. Sheen in front of him was the #1 on the God ranking in the world, Qin Xingxian.
Chapter 374, Setting a Rule.
Qin Fan looked at Fang Zhenye, who was kneeling on the ground, and asked, "Who are you?" The moment these words came out, the entire crowd was shocked, feeling that the other party didn't even know what Fang Zhenye's origin was. It was also these words that made people realize that this youth's origin was very unusual.
Do you guys know each other? What is this gentleman's origin? Not sure. He came with Lu Ziyan.
Yes, he came with that Lu Group helmsman from Round Island.
See, Lu Ziyan seems to be very respectful to this person. Could this be that Qin Jinran who supported Lu Ziyan to become the #1 person in the business world?
Privately, many powerful people had already begun to guess Qin Fan's identity, and many of them had already guessed Qin Fan's identities. The matter of Lu Ziyan's presence at the roundabout was blocked at the roundabout, but it was not a secret among those powerful and rich people, and after that, there was also the matter of Huang Guantong's Huang family. The people who attended this banquet, more or less, had business on the Ring Island, so there were always so many rich friends from the Ring Island, and naturally, they had heard about Lu Ziyan and Qin Jinjinjin. Therefore, many people guessed that the young man who came with Lu Ziyan must be the Qin Jinjinjin who supported Lu Ziyan to go to the top of the Ring Island. As for the identity of Qin Xingxian, without someone mentioning it, how could anyone present think that the one sitting in front of them was the young man was Qin Xingxuan, because in the eyes of all of them, Qin Xingxian had already died under that cannon. Of course, there were also people who didn't understand that even if it was real Qin, was it necessary for Fang Zhenye to kneel down? However, this thought did not continue to fester, as everyone was more interested in seeing how things would develop. Only to see that Fang Zhenye knelt on the ground and told Qin Fan about his identity. Hearing this, Qin Fan casually said, "Get up." Only then did Fang Zhenye rise with fear and trembling, then said in awe, "Mr. Sheen, I have brought the transfer contract of the Jun Tian Hotel. All you have to do is to sign it, and this hotel will be yours." After saying that, he took out the contract and placed it in front of Qin Fan.
Take a look at the contract.
Qin Fan did not look at the contract but looked at Lu Ziyan and said. Lu Ziyan nodded and took the contract to have a look at it and was immediately shocked.
Free transfer.
This transfer contract, Fang Zhenye did not have a single penny, which was equivalent to giving Qin Fan a hotel worth more than $2 billion.
This made Lu Ziyan's eyebrows frown, and she was dissatisfied with Helena.
She had thought that when this Fang Zhenye came over, he would definitely have to pull some strings before the acquisition could be completed tomorrow. However, Fang Zhenye chose to give it to Qin Fan for free, and she immediately knew that that assistant of hers must have revealed Qin Fan's identity for the sake of convenience.
It seems that this Helena needs to be knocked around a bit.
Lu Ziyan sighed in her heart. Of course, this was something she felt. She was also a bit at fault for trusting her assistant Helena too much, so she revealed Qin Fan's identity there to Helena. As for Fang Zhenye can send out the hotel so decisively, this is no need to guess. The people present, if they know that Qin Fan is Qin Xingxian, I am afraid that everyone will line up to give him a big gift, just like the gang of consortium presidents of the Japanese country now. Fang Zhenye instead took this opportunity to turn the hotel that was originally supposed to be traded into a free gift. It can be said that he made things extremely beautiful, so that he could befriend Qin Xingxian.
To be able to befriend Qin Xingxian, what was a mere $2.5 billion? No problem, Lu Ziyan said to Qin Fan.
Once Qin Fan heard this, he took the contract and signed his name, then said, "This Jun Tian Hotel is mine, right?" "That's right, from this moment on, this hotel is Mr. Qin's." Fang Zhenye saw Qin Fan signing the contract. His heart was overjoyed. This $2.5 billion was considered to be given away. He was considered to have seized a piece of creation. As for the manager who stood by the side, his face had long been as pale as paper, and his cold sweat was pouring out, wetting his whole body's clothes. He felt like he was experiencing a dream. The youth in front of him just became the owner of Jun Tian Hotel.
His own top boss, Chairman Fang, even knelt down to flatter this youth.
In an instant, he felt like his heart was about to jump out of his chest. However, he was also thankful that he had maintained the proper politeness and performed his duties to the very end. If he had made any disrespectful moves, there was no need to even think about what would happen to him. There was only death.
What's going on? Old Fang sold the hotel this time? Why can't I see it? This Jun Tian Hotel is a high-quality asset.
Why did he just sell it like this?
Many people simply didn't understand what was happening now.
After getting a response from Feng Zhenye, Qin Fan then smiled and said, I am now the owner of this hotel, so I will make a rule.
Any rule Mr. Qin wants is fine. Feng Zhenye then said. That man named Li Yanwei from before came from the New Country Li family, right? Qin Fan looked at Lu Ziyan and asked.
Lu Ziyan was slightly stunned at his words, then she smiled and nodded her head. She knew what Qin Fan was definitely going to do. Qin Fan's gaze turned to Li Yanwei, who was standing not far away, still in shock, and he spoke faintly, from now on, the Jun Tian Hotel will not receive anyone from the Li family of the New Country, is that alright? The rich and powerful people present, once they heard this, they immediately showed shocked colors. New Country Li family, which person present does not know the origin of the New Country Li family, that is in the new country of the family, its senior, but also has a close relationship with the top of the summer country.
Now this rule, this is with the New Country Li family feud? Swish 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 in an instant, the gazes of countless people all focused on Li Yanwei's body. Say that again?
Li Yanwei said with a cold face, that anger rising in his heart, his fists clenched.
Not receiving any New Country Li family members in the future?
Although he would, in the future, rarely have the opportunity to come here, this rule was clearly nakedly humiliating him, not only humiliating him, but also humiliating the Li family of the new country.
This matter was absolutely unbearable.
Let's add one more rule then, the people and dogs of the Li family of the new country are not allowed to enter.
Qin Fan said as if he was teasing.
The moment these words came out, it caused the entire crowd to suck in a breath of cold air.
This was a real insult to the New Country Li family.
This person really had a rampage.
Ha ha, ha ha.
As for Li Yanwei, he laughed back in anger when he heard this. He felt like he was dealing with a fool, so much so that he didn't even know how to reply. Qin Fan, on the other hand, looked at the manager who was sweating coldly and said, You should fulfill your duties. Upon hearing this, the manager instantly recovered from his panic and looked at Qin Fan, his face changing for a moment before he clenched his teeth and walked over towards Li Yanwei.
Mr.
Li Yanwei, sorry, according to the rules set by the boss, please leave. What this manager said was extremely decisive and unquestionable.
Chapter 375, Is it worthy?
This manager knew that both sides were not people he could offend, but the cause of this matter was clear to him. It was Li Yanwei who started this, which put him in this dilemma. However, he knew very well what he should do.
Stand on his boss's side. The onlookers were in an uproar.
Li Yanwei's background was really quite strong. Not only that, he didn't come over alone, there were definitely other people from the Li family around, only no one was coming out right now.
Mr.
Li, this nephew of yours is in trouble now. A middle-aged man laughed lightly.
Another middle-aged man beside this middle-aged man frowned and asked, What exactly is that person's origin?
To be able to make Feng Zhenye so, there's something not simple about him. This man known as Mr. Li was named Li Dehua, a second-generation figure of the Li family. He was more of a businessman of the Li family and would not be involved in politics, so he would not show his face too much and not many people knew him. At this moment, he was a little curious as to what kind of identity Qin Fan had, daring one person to challenge the new country. It was true that the new country was small in size, but it was not something that one person could provoke. It was just that a person who dared to provoke the Li family of the new country was either a madman or really had the strength. Therefore, he did not choose to come forward immediately. He had to investigate Qin Fan's true identity first. On the other hand, Li Yanwei's face was gloomy and his fists were clenched. He had never been humiliated like this in his long life. While the people around him were talking in low voices.
How will Li Yanwei fight back?
We can't just let it go, this will bring shame to the Li family. That youth surely doesn't come from a small place, it's probably that realist Qin.
So what if it's realist Qin? The strength of the new country Li family is not something one in Round Island City can provoke.
And this Chamber of Commerce, the Li family was originally one of the main protagonists. Where would they be bullied like this? The people in the surroundings were discussing. Although this is not the new country, but the Li family was specially invited, the organizer otherwise would not let Li Yanwei embarrassed. Not to mention, the new country Li family is already strong, is a river dragon, even if the summer country, but also can use a lot of relations, but also really do not fear what the ring island of Qinzhenjin ha.
Li Yanwei laughed disdainfully. Let me leave, do not receive the new country Li family. This rule, a little interesting, I say he cannot perform up, how about you? Li Yanwei finished revealing a cold smile. You make rules, I'll break your rules. At that time, let's see, who was the clown?
This manager heard, scalp numb, the other party is clearly breaking the rules, and he really cannot do anything about it, can only look at said, boss, this thing?
You won't break his legs and throw him out?
Xin Fan said indifferently. When this manager heard this, his face changed abruptly. This new boss of his was really a ruthless person. When the others heard this, they were also stunned inside that this new boss was really a ruthless character.
Break my legs and throw them out? I'd like to see who dares?
Li Yanwei did not have a trace of fear, and even carried a hint of disdain. He didn't believe that someone would really dare to make a move against him to break his legs. Hearing this, Xin Fan looked at that manager and said, if you can't do it then get lost, I will find someone who can do it. The manager sniffed, clenched his teeth, decided to go one way, and immediately took out his phone to call someone from the hotel's security department.
In just a minute's time, more than a dozen big man bodyguards entered the scene. Break his legs and throw him out.
This manager spoke out without a hint of hesitation. And these security guards were originally still a bit hesitant, but the leading security captain saw that his boss, Fang Zhenye, was also there and didn't stop the manager, so he didn't do anything to hesitate, do it. After saying that, this security captain was the first one to strike, and this security captain was also a bit of martial arts practitioner, carrying an iron stick and rushing up with a murderous spirit unbridled. At this instant, Li Dahua's face was suddenly grim as he stood out and sternly shouted. He was just watching the development of the situation, wanting to know what exactly was Xin Fan's status that he dared to be so arrogant and domineering, but he definitely did not allow his nephew to get hurt. Therefore, the moment these security guards appeared, he was ready to strike. As his words fell, Li Dahua stepped forward, and the people accompanying him also stepped forward, quickly surrounding Li Yanwei and protecting him. If you dare to injure Yuan Wei, can your Lu clan afford it? Li Dahua also then looked towards Xin Fan and Lu Ziyan, who were still sitting there. He originally thought that this was nothing more than an ordinary jealousy fight. As a result, the other party was quite ruthless and really made a move to injure his son or nephew. Li Yanwei is the third generation of the Li family, carefully cultivated, first from the business sector, and then will gradually enter the new country's political high level, and finally will become the new country's president. That's why this trip to the summer country would allow Li Yanwei to come, just to gild the lily. How could Li Dahua not expect that this? Only once he came, he met a ruthless person, who completely did not care about the face of the Li family in the new country, and was really going to make a move to abolish the future heir of the Li family. He is Li Dahua, the younger brother of the new country's president Li Dalong, not serving in the government, but everything Li family business is under his control, equivalent to the new country's Li family's money bag. Lu Ziyan saw Li Dahua come out and then said to Xin Fan. Li Dahua naturally heard Lu Ziyan's words and looked at Xin Fan. He waited for the other party to give in. He believed that this identity of his would definitely make the other party give in. The younger brother of the president of the new country, this identity was extremely high. In the Xia country, even those 5 great family people would give a few points of face. Even if you were Qin Jinran, as the first person on the ringed island, could you compare to the 5 great families? Therefore, he was pretty sure that the other party would definitely give in. On the other hand, Li Yanwei was looking at Xin Fan smugly, with a, what can you do to me attitude. Xin Fan's gaze fell towards those people from the Li family and said indifferently, I let someone break his legs and throw him out, which is considered to be giving you guys a mercy. It seems that you guys don't want this mercy, so I can only do it myself. Li Dahua and the others suddenly changed at the words, their faces full of incredulity. Not only were the people of the Li family incredible, but everyone else present was incredible. Not only did the other party not give in, it seemed that they wanted to go even further. Did they want to kill someone with their hands? Was this crazy? Li Dahua was as gloomy as water dripping out of his face as he listened, and said coldly, you're that no. One person in Huandao City, Qin Jinran, are you sure you can withstand the consequences after you make your move? I kill a Li family person, want me to take responsibility, with you a new country Li family. Xin Fan looked at Li Dahua and paused, saying faintly, is it worthy? Chapter 376, Qin Wushi. Worthy? As soon as the 2 words Xin Fan came out, the entire crowd was filled with shock and couldn't believe their ears. What exactly was this person's origin? Killing a person from the Li family, yet asking the new country Li family to be worthy of letting him take the responsibility? This tone was just too arrogant and overbearing, wasn't it? This person is really a bit arrogant, so what if he's the number 1 person on the Ring Island, compared to the 5 great families of the Xia kingdom? That's right, even the 5 great men of the Xia kingdom wouldn't dare to speak so arrogantly. Many people opened their mouths in astonishment.
This youth was simply too arrogant and could even be said to be overbearing.
Li Dehua listened to Qin Fan's words. A wave of anger rose up. As the new country's business representative, he traveled all over the world, met the dignitaries of various countries, the rich and powerful. These people did not dare to say such crazy words. He even asked if the Li family was worthy of the new country. Li Dehua was about to open his mouth, only, there was a sudden sound of surprise within the venue.
What's going on? Are these the people from the military department coming? Many people saw several people in military uniforms, walking into the banquet hall.
Hearing this sound, many people, including Li Dehua, looked towards the people from the military department who suddenly appeared, at the head of which was a man wearing the military department's formal attire with several military medals. The man appeared to be around 50 years old.
This is Lieutenant General Xiao.
What, Lieutenant General Xiao? Haven't you heard the news? Lieutenant General Xiao not long ago made a great achievement at the border in the northwest. He is already promoted to Admiral Xiao, and he is already the head of the Northwest Military Department. He should be addressed as Marshal Xiao. No, this banquet is a business banquet. Why is Marshal Xiao suddenly attending? Many people, when they saw the person at the head, their faces suddenly changed and were filled with shock. This was because the person at the head was no other than Xiao Zhangnan, the chief of the Northwest Military Department of the Xia Kingdom. When Li Dehua saw the person coming, he was also quite surprised. Because a business banquet, it was absolutely impossible that Xiao Zhangnan would come. Immediately, he didn't care about Qin Fan, but ran to Xiao Zhangnan's body and said with extreme respect, "Admiral Xiao. Xiao Zhangnan has been promoted to the head of the Northwest Military Department. More importantly, Xiao Zhangnan's name in the summer country is like thunder, even if not counting the Xiao family behind Xiao Zhangnan in the northwest. In the west, anyone who meets him will have to be respectful." When Xiao Zhangnan appeared, everyone instantly forgot about Qin Fan. Everyone focused on Xiao Zhangnan's body, and all of them went forward to greet Xiao Zhangnan. However, Xiao Zhangnan waved his hand, signaling not to come over, and even when Li Dehua came forward, he did not pay attention to him. Li Dehua naturally did not dare to have any dissatisfaction, even if it was his elder brother, the president of the new country. Xiao Zhangnan did not dare to have any dissatisfaction. After all, this person, Xiao Zhangnan, was just too dazzling. The crowd moved aside, wanting to see why Xiao Zhangnan had suddenly come to such a business banquet. Qin Fan, on the other hand, ignored these people and walked to Li Yanwei on his own.
Hey, what do you want?
When Li Yanwei saw Qin Fan walk over, his face changed greatly and he immediately shouted out. And this voice immediately attracted everyone's attention, including Xiao Zhangnan who had come. And the moment Xiao Zhangnan saw Qin Fan, his face changed slightly. He took a deep breath and hurriedly increased his speed,
walking towards Qin Fan.
Qin Fan, on the other hand, didn't care about everything around him at all, but glanced at Li Yanwei and said indifferently, "Just now, I gave you a portion of mercy, and you don't accept it, so walk well."
You.
Li Yanwei sniffed his face and wanted to speak out, only, before the words were finished, Qin Fan raised his hand and tapped Li Yanwei's shoulder.
Li Yanwei instantly turned into blood mist and dissipated into smoke. In an instant, the entire audience was stunned, including Xiao Zhangnan who stopped in his tracks. Is he crazy? Marshal Xiao is right here, and he still dares to kill?
This is too arrogant, in front of the head of the Northwest Military Department, killing the new country's Li family's son. I'm afraid this is going to cause an international dispute.
But didn't you see his tactics? It's truly amazing. It's really the no.
One person in the Circle Island, Xinjianran.
Even if he's the number one person around the island, he can handle the Northwest Military Department? Marshal Xiao alone, he can't even handle it. Isn't this looking for death?
Many people kept speaking out, all shocked by Qin Fan's actions. This person in front of him could no longer be said to be overbearing. This was feared to be only by a madman.
How dare you, you are looking for death. Li Dehua measuredly erupted. What was going on with this person? Why did he dare to kill Li Yanwei? Was he really prepared to go against the entire new country by himself? Threatening me?
Qin Fan heard this voice, the corner of his mouth picked up as he looked at Li Dehua. Li Dehua noticed Qin Fan's gaze and a coldness rose in his heart. However, he was quickly overwhelmed by anger and was furious, wanting to speak out. Only, in an instant, he was ruthlessly pressed down by a person. When Li Dehua saw the person who pressed him down, he then angrily said, "Marshal Xiao, shouldn't you give me an explanation? Otherwise, this is spread back to the new country, and you know what great things will happen." The one holding down Li Dehua was none other than Xiao Zhangnan. Xiao Zhangnan looked at Li Dehua and solemnly said, "Mr. Li, take the people away, otherwise more people will die." Upon hearing this, Li Dehua looked at Xiao Zhangnan with a face full of incredulity. These words were asking him to end this matter and not to continue. It could even be said that it was the meaning of seeing the good and the bad. Xiao Zhangnan nodded slightly, signaling that he was right. Li Dehua laughed angrily at the situation. The future successor of the new country Li family was killed and the murderer was right in front of him. It was really funny that he had to hold his tongue. Ha ha! Li Dehua let out a loud laugh. What you Xia Kingdom did today, you will surely pay the price. This is something that President Li will soon learn about. Xiao Zhangnan then said. And after he finished speaking, he signaled the people around him to hurriedly take Li Dehua away. The people who were traveling with him immediately stepped forward and set Li Dehua out. Break the legs and throw them out. Only, this would be the time when Qin Fan's voice sounded once again. Xiao Zhangnan and the people from the military department all froze there. The people looked at Qin Fan with even more shock. Still coming? What does this person mean, ready to go to the end? Li Dehua and those people similarly looked at Qin Fan and said in a cold voice, you really have to give an inch, huh? It's still the same sentence. If I were to do it, it wouldn't be breaking both legs. Qin Fan said indifferently. Xiao Zhangnan did not hesitate for a second upon hearing this and immediately struck out at Li Dehua. Ka-ching! The sound of breaking came instantly, and then Li Dehua let out a miserable scream. Everyone saw this scene and all of them were dumbfounded. Xiao Zhangnan had listened to Qin Fan's words and actually shot out to break Li Dehua's legs. The crowd felt their three views collapse. This was Xiao Zhangnan. Everyone knew that Xiao Zhangnan would stand up for Li Dehua, but now he even listened to the other party and broke Li Dehua's legs. The crowd was really unable to understand. Clear the scene. At the moment when the crowd was shocked, Xiao Zhangnan gave an order, and those accompanying staff also acted immediately, signaling everyone to go out. The crowd naturally did not want to leave. They really wanted to know what Qin Fan's origin was. How could he make Xiao Zhangnan bow down? However, the people from the military department were extremely strong, and these people could only leave unwillingly. Soon, only Qin Fan, Lu Ziyan, and Xiao Zhangnan were left in the venue. What? Want to make a move to stand up for him? Qin Fan looked at Xiao Zhangnan and asked. Xiao Zhangnan smiled bitterly at his words, then respectfully gave a military salute to Qin Fan. My last general, Xiao Zhangnan, I have seen Qin Guisher. State sure Qin? Qin Fan and Lu Ziyan froze for a moment when they heard Xiao Zhangnan address him, State Sergeant Qin, for the great achievements of the Xia Kingdom, the head of the government and the military department have elevated you to be the State Sergeant of the Xia Kingdom, and you are the only one in the Xia Kingdom in this world. Xiao Zhangnan said. How come I didn't know about this? Qin Fan was puzzled. This is the decision of the chief and Ziyang realist, but you have been late in returning to the Xia Kingdom, so this has not been able to tell you. This time, I purposely came over here to tell you about this and hand over the National Scholar Unrivaled Medal to you. Xiao Zhangnan explained. After saying that, he handed Qin Fan a box and opened it. Inside, there was a golden medal with the engraving National Scholar Unrivaled on it. Qin Fan glanced at the medal of Unrivaled Scholar of the Nation and then said with a smile on his face, you guys are spying on me, aren't you? No, we definitely don't dare to spy on you. Xiao Zhangnan responded nervously. Then how did you know I was here? Qin Fan asked with a cold face. Sir Qin, didn't I give you an identity card last time? When you left the airport, you swiped this card, so our military department got the news that you came to Shidu. Xiao Zhangnan explained. Hearing this, Qin Fan remembered the incident when he exited the Shidu airport barrier. At that time, there were a lot of people in the queue, so he brought Lu Ziyan to take the priority channel, and the priority channel was to swipe this card. I see. Qin Fan responded and didn't show much. Only then did Xiao Zhangnan let out a sigh of relief and said, State Scholar Qin, I don't know what's the matter with you suddenly coming to Shidu? When Qin Fan heard this, he raised his eyebrows and said, asking, then let you help me find someone. Outside the hotel, Li Dehua was sent to the ambulance. In the car, Li Dehua endured the severe pain and dialed his elder brother's phone with trembling hands. Elder brother, something happened here in Xiagua. Li Dehua gritted his teeth and said, telling his elder brother about the matter. Only before he could speak, he heard his elder brother Li Delong's somewhat trembling voice, Dehua, prepare a generous gift and go apologize to that person. What? Upon hearing this, Li Dehua froze for a moment and immediately asked, Elder brother, what are you talking about? Prepare a thick gift and go apologize to that man. If you don't get his forgiveness, don't come back. Li Delong said word for word. Elder brother,
What is wrong with you? He killed your son, he broke both my legs, who the hell is he to make you so? Li Dehua asked in shock and dismay, because he is Qin Qingshan. Li Delong used almost all of his strength to utter a sentence. When Li Dehua heard these words, the cell phone in his hand then fell to the ground with a snap. At this moment, he felt like the sky had collapsed. Chapter 377, There's News. Jun Tian Hotel, Hot Spring. This was an artificial hot spring that the Jun Tian Hotel had spent $500 million to build, and in it, all sorts of medicinal herbs that were beneficial to the body were thrown in for the enjoyment of the people who came to stay here. However, at the moment, there was only one figure within the hot spring. Qin Fan was soaking in the hot spring, looking at the stars in the sky, showing great enjoyment. Qin Fan. A delicate voice came from the front. Qin Fan looked forward and saw Lu Ziyan, who was wearing a set of silk bathrobe. The bathrobe was a bit thin, and under the penetration of the mist, it clung to Lu Ziyan's jade-like skin, outlining her proud figure to the fullest. I don't know whether it was because of the temperature in the hot spring or because of the charming atmosphere of this place, causing a blush to appear on her pretty face. Lu Ziyan stepped into the hot spring with her white jade feet and slowly swam towards Qin Fan while the bathrobe floated above the hot spring. Soon, Lu Ziyan swam in front of Qin Fan's body, then extended her hands to encircle Qin Fan's neck, letting out a delicate and somewhat nervous voice, "Qin Fan. You have a lot of guts," Qin Fan said flatly as he looked at Lu Ziyan, who was close at hand. When Lu Ziyan heard Qin Fan's words, she didn't let go of her hand, but her beautiful eyes still looked at Qin Fan and said, "Because it's you, I have to be bold, otherwise, I will never be able to catch you." Before meeting Qin Fan, Lu Ziyan that was an absolutely haughty princess, countless noble gentlemen, just like Li Yanwei, that kind of future king of a country, all of them were madly infatuated with her. She once thought that there was no man in this world that she couldn't catch. "Until I met you, you sent me to hell and picked me up to heaven, you changed my life, even changed my destiny." Lu Ziyan's eyes looked at Qin Fan, and within her beautiful eyes, there was a trace of indescribable emotions. "There is no need for you to be like this, the current you can completely walk to the top of this world and see all the prosperity of the human world." Qin Fan stared at Lu Ziyan and said indifferently, "I know." Lu Ziyan lightly bit her red lips and spoke out, "But without you, what's the point?" Qin Fan looked at Lu Ziyan and was silent. Lu Ziyan was a mortal child, without any cultivation qualifications. Qin Fan's use of heavenly treasures was nothing more than eternal youth, and she would still return to dust after 100 years. Therefore, Qin Fan had never thought of having a male or female affair towards Lu Ziyan. "I'm willing, even if I don't have a name, or even just a one-night fling with you, I'm willing," Lu Ziyan said as she looked at Qin Fan's lack of movement. Qin Fan looked at Lu Ziyan and sighed slightly, then reached out and wrapped his hand around Lu Ziyan's slender waist, pulling her closer to him. Lu Ziyan faced Qin Fan. This suddenly up action slightly startled the heart of the deer, and then immediately will cicatrizes lean on Qin Fan's shoulder. "Fine voice, I'm willing to." After the hot spring then rippled. After a period of charming, Lu Ziyan lay on the wall of the hot spring, her face flushed with happiness. "Remember, did I pass on the spell?" A faint voice came from behind her. When Lu Ziyan heard this voice, she turned her head and bit her red lips, looking at Qin Fan with winking eyes and said, "I still need to." Qin Fan smiled faintly and continued to continue double cultivation in the water with Lu Ziyan. The yin-yang mending heavenly gong, Qin Fan all but considered a marvelous cultivation method for exploring the yin-yang avenue. Among them, the Nuwa Huang Gong and Shi Huang Gong were undoubtedly the method of cultivating immortality with a complete Taoist system, which required a special physique, bloodline. They required special qualifications such as special physique, bloodline, or spiritual roots to cultivate. However, after Nuwa Huang Gong and Shi Huang Gong were merged into one and became Yin-Yang Heaven Mending Gong, there were no more requirements. This is why Qin Fan believes that the yin-yang mending heavenly skill is a divine skill that directly refers to the essence of the yin-yang cultivation path. A man and a woman, as long as they could comprehend the true meaning of it, even unqualified mortals could embark on the path to immortality. At this moment, Qin Fan was truly changing Lu Ziyan's fate, allowing her to embark on the path of immortal cultivation. However, Qin Fan did not know if this was the right thing to do for Lu Ziyan. Cultivation of immortality, dangerous, at any time there is the moment of death. The night was charming. The next day, Qin Fan sat on the sofa of the presidential suite. Lu Ziyan stood on the side of Qin Fan with a faint smile on her face. In front of Qin Fan was Li Dehua, who was lying on the ground, his body trembling. Even though his legs were broken, he still endured the severe pain and waited outside the door of the room early in the morning, waiting to apologize to Qin Fan.
Xin Fan actually had no interest in seeing Li Dehua, but Lu Ziyan said that the other party must have come to make amends and apologize, so there was no harm in meeting him.
Xin Fan sort of agreed to meet this Li Dehua for Lu Ziyan's sake, Mr. Xin. I really didn't know it was you.
Li Dehua dragged his broken leg and knelt down on the ground, his voice trembling as he said,
Xin Xian.
At the moment he knew Qin Fan's true identity. He knew that if he got Qin Fan's forgiveness, it would be the destruction of the Li family. The new country was considered a country, but this country was nothing compared to the Japanese country. Qin Xian, who could make the Japanese country change days, could make the United States swallow their anger. The new country in front of him is just a snap of the fingers can be destroyed. As his elder brother had said, if he could not obtain Qin Xingxuan's forgiveness, he would not have to return to the new kingdom. I don't have that much time to listen to your nonsense. Xin Fan said expressionlessly.
This is our new country Li family's compensation for having offended you.
Li Dehua knelt on the ground and pushed a document forward. Qin Fan glanced at it, and the document then flew up and landed in Lu Ziyan's hands. Lu Ziyan immediately flipped through the document and said with an incredulous look on her face, the absolute controlling right of Imperial Bank.
Xin Fan raised his eyebrows when he heard Lu Ziyan's voice. What is it?
In the current world, there are three major neutral banks. The first one is the Ruatian Bank in Ruagua, the second one is the Imperial Hao Bank in the new country, and the third one is the Barilla Bank in South America. Of course, the so-called neutrality is all what they claim. Privately, I'm not sure if there is absolute neutrality or not. At least on the surface the three major banks remain neutral. The Li family of the new country owns the absolute control of the Imperial Bank, which is equivalent to a holding of $100 billion. Lu Ziyan explained in detail to Qin Fan about the Imperial Hao Bank. The compensatory gift given by Li Dehua this time and this compensation gift for really shocked her to no end. Because the value of this $100 billion is actually nothing at all. What really matters is that within the bank, the information of those powerful people around the world. Grasping the absolute control of the Imperial Banks meant knowing the handles of many powerful and noble people in various countries around the world. This is also why the new country is only a small country in the South Pacific, but has been protected by many big countries. After all, those countries have more or less powerful people have some secrets in the hands of Dihao Bank. And now, the Li family had handed all of this over to Qin Fan, which meant that it was handing over the life of the new country to Qin Fan. It had to be said that this indemnity was very sincere.
All right, I'll take it.
Qin Fan said as he casually signed it. When Li Dehua heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief, then crawled out of the room with trepidation. As for Fang Zhengye, who was guarding the outside of the room, his scalp was numb. He didn't expect that in the end, it would be Li Dehua who would come to the door to apologize. Fortunately, he had someone to remind him and did not make a big mistake.
Looks like there's a way to thank that Miss Helena properly.
Fang Zhengye looked at Li Dehua, who was helped up and then left in a wheelchair, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said in his heart,
This Imperial Bank is in your hands.
Qin Fan said as he threw the document to Lu Ziyan.
Lu Ziyan then smiled at his words and said, I will not dishonor my mission.
After saying that, she threw the document to the side, then sat on Qin Fan's legs and wrapped her arms around his neck and said in a delicate voice, I still want you to instruct me. When Qin Fan heard this, he was helpless. This was mesmerized, however. This would be when Qin Fan's phone suddenly rang. There's news from Chao Qingguan. Qin Fan glanced at the person who had called and then said, You continue to deal with Imperial Bank, I'll go out. Lu Ziyan had a sad face as she watched Qin Fan leave.
Chapter 378 Fighting Dogs also depends on the masters.
Qin Fan left the hotel. A military vehicle came to pick him up. As for not bringing Lu Ziyan with him, it was solely because Lu Ziyan was not suitable to participate in this matter. Soon, the military vehicle brought Qin Fan to the Northwest Military Base.
Sir Qin.
After entering the base, Xiao Zhengnan immediately saluted Qin Fan respectfully.
Where are the people? Qin Fan asked.
In treatment, the injuries are very serious. Xiao Zhengnan immediately said.
Heavily injured? Take me to have a look.
Qin Fan said.
Xiao Zhengnan immediately led Qin Fan into the base's infirmary.
Within the infirmary, Qin Fan looked at Chao Qingguan, who was inserted with various tubes and wrapped in gauze. Only at this moment, he was already dying. He was already like this when we found him. I'm afraid he would have died if it was a little later. Xiao Zhengnan said to Qin Fan. Chao Qingguan's injuries were extremely serious. Almost half of his leg had stepped into the ghost gate. Xiao Jingnan's men were afraid that they would have already died if they came a few hours later.
Who did this to my man?
Qin Fan took one look at Xiao Qingguan and realized that Xiao Qingguan was seriously injured. Xiao Zhangnan shook his head at that and said, he should have escaped there. As for who it was, we don't know.
Then let him say it himself.
Qin Fan said, walked over to Xiao Qingguan's side and placed one hand on his chest.
What are you doing? The patient is in danger, do you want to kill him?
A doctor who was saving the patient immediately said. And the others were about to move forward to stop it, but they were stopped by Xiao Jingnan. Qin Fan pressed one hand on Xiao Qingguan's chest, white aura flashed on top of his palm, the recovery avatar was released, and Xiao Qingguan's state was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The indicators on the monitors also recovered rapidly, and in just 10 seconds or so, they all returned to normal.
Then the unconscious Xiao Qingguan awoke.
Everyone present looked at Qin Fan with dumbfounded eyes. These medical personnel that were all elite of the army, or had they seen this kind of situation, they wanted to go forward to inquire, but they were all stopped by Xiao Zhangnan and all of them were blasted out.
Tell me, who beat you up like this?
Qin Fan looked at Xiao Qingguan, who was still in a dazed state, and asked. Xiao Qingguan only recovered when he heard Qin Fan's voice, then gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words with a face full of unwillingness, Feng family.
When Qin Fan heard this, his brows furrowed as he asked, you haven't even entered the divine realm yet, and you went to take revenge?
Xiao Qingguan shook his head and gritted his teeth. I'm not going to take revenge, I'm trying to save the Chao family's bloodline.
Your Chao family has people living in the world besides you?
Xiao Zhangnan heard this and immediately asked in surprise.
Xiao Zhangnan was naturally clear about the Chao family being exterminated by the Feng family, but this was a grudge between the 2 major cultivation families, so naturally, the Xia government did not care.
Moreover, this matter was already more than 50 years ago. Xiao Zhangnan had always thought that the Shidu Chao family could only have one person, Xiao Qingguan, but he didn't think that there were other people or so. Yes, she is 18 years old and was raised in the Feng family, she is the orphan of my little sister.
Xiao Qingguan said painfully.
Alright, no need to talk, your Chao family's grudge, your Chao family's bloodline, it has nothing to do with me, I don't want to hear it. Qin Fan immediately made an interruption when he heard Xiao Qingguan's words. Xiao Qingguan froze at hearing this and looked at Qin Fan with a puzzled face.
Let's go, it's time to go to the Feng family. Qin Fan added. This sentence again made Xiao Qingguan even more baffled and even incomprehensible.
I don't care at all about any grudges and disputes between your Chao family and Feng family, but I have one thing I care about, my servant was beaten almost to death, this revenge, I definitely want to avenge. Qin Fan said indifferently.
Even when you beat a dog, you have to look at the master. Xiao Qingguan was his servant, and even if Xiao Qingguan was considered his dog and was beaten to death, this revenge couldn't go unrewarded, right?
As for how Xiao Qingguan was found, how he was beaten like this, and the grudge between the Chao family and the Feng family, it has nothing to do with him. The only thing that had anything to do with him was the fact that his servant, Xiao Qingguan, had been beaten half to death. Xiao Zhengnan's face instantly changed upon hearing this, and he hurriedly spoke out, the Feng family has a lot of power in Shidu, and behind them is still the Yi family.
Obviously Xiao Zhangnan was organizing Qin Fan to personally come to his door.
But he was very clear that if Qin Fan was personally involved, then there was a high probability that the Feng family would be exterminated. Only, Qin Fan didn't pay any attention to Xiao Zhangnan at all, but instead said to Xiao Qingguan in a cold voice, hurry up and get up, it's time to go to the Feng family.
Xiao Qingguan climbed up in a flash.
Seeing that Xiao Qingguan was up, Qin Fan said, go, take me to the Feng family. After saying this, the 2 of them immediately left the house and went straight to the Feng family. Xiao Zhengnan's scalp tingled when he saw the scene, but he couldn't stop it and could only watch the 2 leave. On the outskirts of the western capital, there was a town called Feng Town, a town that could house 3,000 people. This town was owned by the Feng family, and the Feng family's family head and those key personnel usually lived here to cultivate and deal with the Feng family's important matters. At this moment, within the Feng family's lobby in the middle of the town, Feng, the Feng family's lord, was sitting smugly on top of the main seat as he said, after chasing and killing for so many years, we have finally killed Xiao Qingguan, and the last threat to our Feng family is finally gone.
Ha ha. And as soon as his words came out, the Feng family's crowd of sniffers immediately let out a loud laugh. The Feng family and the Chao family had a blood feud. It was only a pity that the Chao family had escaped Xiao Qingguan back then, and this Xiao Qingguan was not weak.
Therefore, Xiao Qingguan had always been like a time bomb threatening the Feng family. As long as Xiao Qingguan did not die, the Feng family would have trouble sleeping and eating. This is also thanks to Xiao Xiao, that Chao Qingguan actually really believed that Xiao Xiao was a descendant of the Chao family, that's why he showed up and fell into the trap. A young man, on the other hand, said with a smiling face. And on this man's lap sat a wonderful woman. This Chao Qingguan is also stupid enough. I'm not just plastic surgery in accordance with his sister's appearance somewhat similar, he actually really believes that Xiao Xiao is her sister's descendant. I'm dying of laughter.
Another person said.
After saying that, the group of people burst into a frenzy of laughter. Chao Qingguan was simply too cautious in his actions, and in layman's terms, he was meticulous. The Feng family had tried every possible way to lure Chao Qingguan out and surround him. However, all of them failed. In the end, the younger generation of the Feng family, that is, Feng Guangming, the proud son of the Feng family, thought of a way to find a woman of the wind and then plastic surgery to look like Chao Qingguan's sister. As a result, I didn't expect that once the news was released, Chao Qingguan really thought that in this woman was his sister's descendant, and then showed up. However, I'm still a little worried. He just fell off the cliff and no body was found. Do you guys think it's possible for him to be alive? The Feng family's second elder said cautiously, it's just as well that he didn't die, he will definitely still come to rescue Xiao Xiao. At that time, we will arrange a good show, such as right in front of him, toying with Xiao Xiao and making him suffer. Feng Guanming, on the other hand, was all smiles as he spoke out his extremely perverted thoughts. Right, it might still be a relief if he dies. As long as he doesn't die, this Chao Qingguan will definitely come back to rescue him again, and then instead of killing him, will make his life worse than death. The Feng family's family head let out a loud laugh. When the crowd heard this, they also laughed. Hear that? Right at the moment when these people were laughing, a faint voice suddenly came out, immediately causing the Feng family's people to freeze. Then, the Feng family's people saw that two people had entered chapter 379, standing out by yourself. Qin Fan and Chao Qingguan, the two Feng family dignitaries, walked in amidst their surprised gazes. Although Qin Fan was leisurely, but Chao Qingguan was tense and even alert. Chao Qingguan. The Feng family's people quickly reacted, and their gazes immediately locked onto Chao Qingguan's body. As for Qin Fan, after these people swept a glance, they realized that he did not have a trace of true qi on his body, he was just an ordinary person. There was no need to care at all. You really haven't died yet, surprisingly, you have come to the door again. The Feng family lord looked at Chao Qingguan and said with a cold smile. Chao Qingguan's eyes stared at Feng, his eyes were like spewing out fire. If eyes could kill, right now Chao Qingguan's eyes could definitely kill. You can't kill me even if you look at me like that. Feng sneered at Chao Qingguan. Chao Qingguan stared at him, his fists clenched and his body trembled slightly as he did not speak. Chao Qingguan, you came over this time to save the Chao family's bloodline, right? Feng saw that Chao Qingguan didn't speak, and continued, it's just a pity that you can't do it. Not only can you not do it, do you want us to put on a good show for you to see? Back then, I can remember, your wife was very moist. Speaking of which, back then, I really regretted it. I shouldn't have killed all of the Chao family, I should have kept a few of the Chao family's women, and raised them for fun, so that you wouldn't have to despair. Feng unbridled words kept stimulating Chao Qingguan. The Feng family's people, on the other hand, let out piercing laughter as they listened to Feng Feng's words. When Chao Qingguan heard these words, he seemed to recall everything from that year, everything from the demise of the Chao family that year, only he came down alive from all over the Chao family, none of the others were spared, and those females were raped to death. That was his darkest moment. If it wasn't for the hatred that sustained him, I'm afraid he would have died long ago. I really didn't expect it. You escaped alive before and ended up coming back. You really can't get enough of your Chao family's bloodline. It's just a pity that Xiao Xiao is simply a fake, it's just a fish bait to lure you to show up. I just didn't expect that you would even fall into the trap twice. Feng continued to speak, constantly irritating Chao Qingguan. Chao Qingguan had come to the Feng family's base camp, there was absolutely no way that they would let him leave alive. This time, they would settle everything altogether. However, after Feng spoke a great deal, he realized that Chao Qingguan was standing beside Qin Fan, silent, with only his eyes staring at him. And who are you? Only then did one of the Feng clan's elders pay attention to Qin Fan, who had been watching them speak. My name is Qin Fan. Qin Fan said with a smile. Qin Fan? The Feng family's people looked at each other as soon as they heard Qin Fan's name. Obviously they had never heard of it and did not recognize Qin Fan. Don't recognize me? Qin Fan said when he saw the reaction of these people. Joke? Who do you think you are that our Feng family should recognize you? Feng Guangming, the proud son of the Feng family, narrowed his eyes slightly as he stared at Qin Fan while his right hand was secretly storing power. He was a cautious person. This one called Qin Fan could not feel any true qi, but since he dared to come to the Feng family with Chao Qingguan, he should not be such a simple character. Therefore, he was prepared to find an opportunity to deal Qin Fan a fatal blow. Someone from the Qin family? Finally, Feng Feng looked at Qin Fan and asked, "Came here to mediate a grudge?"
"No, I'm not here to mediate a grudge, but to take revenge," Qin Fan said flatly.
"Revenge?"
The Feng family froze for a moment upon hearing this, and then they just sneered. "An ordinary person coming over to take revenge, the biggest joke I've ever heard in all my life.
Does he know what strength the Feng family is?
Just came out to avenge Chao Qingguan. Chao Qingguan was unable to find anyone and found a random person to help him take revenge. It's really too funny."
Quite a few people from the Feng clan spoke out in ridicule.
"Kill and throw out to feed the dogs."
Feng Feng was also too lazy to continue talking nonsense with Qin Fan and then ordered, and as soon as his words fell, Feng Guangming's body swept violently, and a strong fist deity rolled up above his right hand and fiercely blasted out towards Qin Fan. He was at the Zhongshe realm cultivation, and had been secretly storing his strength before, waiting for this moment. Even if the other party was an ordinary person, he would go all out and kill him with one blow. Hegemony fist.
Feng Guangming threw out a fist and fiercely blasted towards Qin Fan's life gate. This punch was blasted out, the fist was powerful and made the sound of a howling wind. However, in the face of this punch, he did not even look at it, let alone move. Only to see Feng Guangming fist from Qin Fan about a meter. When the fierce bang explosion, Feng Guangming instantly exploded into a cloud of blood mist, and then dissipated into thin air. When the Feng family saw this scene, their pupils shrunk, and there was only a look of surprise on their faces. Chao Qingguan was also shocked to see this scene. He had a brief encounter with Qin Fan and knew that Qin Fan was very strong. Just that, this other party exploded into a mist of blood out of thin air. This tactic was too unbelievable. Although Feng Guangming's strength was not that strong, that is, the strength of the middle stage of the Zhongshe realm, but to die in thin air like this, he really couldn't understand. As for the Feng family's eyes flickered, their faces had changed from shock to horror. This tactic was too frightening and made them realize that something was wrong.
"Your Excellency, who exactly are you?"
Feng Feng came back to his senses, his hands gripping the chair handle tightly as his voice trembled a little as he asked.
Qin Fan did not pay attention to it, but said lightly, "I got the news that my servant, Chao Qingguan, was beaten by your Feng family. Not only did he beat him up, but he almost killed him, so I have to take revenge. But I won't just kill anyone. Now whoever did it can come forward. I will make sure that I don't affect the innocent people." As soon as Qin Fan's words fell, the Feng family's people were in an uproar, and they were even more puzzled by Qin Fan's words. "This Excellency, the Chao family and the Feng family are already deadly enemies. If you are willing to give up helping Chao Qingguan, our Feng family will definitely give you a great gift." Feng Feng then spoke out.
"I repeat, the feud between the Chao and Feng families has nothing to do with me. I only came here this time to settle the vendetta of whoever hit my servant with their hands. I don't care about the rest," Qin Fan said. The Feng family's man stared at Qin Fan. His face was slightly ugly. Absolutely, this man had not been too arrogant for a bit. "No one comes out, then I will start counting down. Within 3 seconds, no one comes out, then I will kill them indiscriminately." Qin Fan saw that no one came out and said. After saying that, he started counting down 3, 2, 1. After counting 3, no one came out. Qin Fan did not have a word of nonsense, raised his hand in the air and grabbed it. A Feng parent elder sitting in one place rose up in the air and then instantly fell into his hands.
Ka-ching!
A snapping sound came, and this elder instantly had his neck broken and died. This was all too fast, so fast that the Feng clan's people didn't even have time to make a reaction before they died.
"I will give you 3 more seconds.
Qin Fan casually threw the corpse aside and said.
And at this moment, the Feng family's people reacted and realized that something was wrong. This was a ruthless man, an unreasonable ruthless man. Thus, some people fled, while others fought Qin Fan to the death.
"Seeing these people who moved," Qin Fan said, "those who moved are ah." After saying that, Qin Fan raised his palm and then pressed downward with a reversal.
Boom!
A booming sound came, and at the sound of this booming sound, as long as the people who moved were all turned into blood mist, dead beyond death.